What up, nerds, and welcome to another definitive episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 455, recorded Thursday, December 21st, 2023. Tonight, it's our last show of the year. We are talking about our top 10 horror movies of 2023. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
What's going on, children?
How do, buddy? It's good to see you. I'm excited to wrap this goddamn year right the fuck up. How about you?
Wrapping it up, putting a bow on top, and leaving it underneath your tree. Merry Christmas.
23 might be one best left in the record books.
Yes, indeedly. Last but not least, calling in from Florida, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Soju. Cheers, boys. Happy New Year. Give me a little kiss.
Ooh, yeah. We're about to, with tongue.
About to be on the mic for 3 hours. I can't have any alcohol right now.
You didn't get a fresh bottle of Red Stag, Randy? What are you doing?
I didn't, you know.
What?
Those days are done. And those days...
Doubt it.
Those days died before 2023 died. I tell you that.
Nah. So you got a bottle of Malort then. That's right. That'll work.
I do, but it will remain undrank until I'm dead.
Damn. Clean out the toilet bowl with it.
Maybe.
So yeah, we're talking about our top 10 of the year. We're also going to do like a bottom 3 of the year. We'll talk about some honorable mentions as well after that. And then we're going to get into some trends of 2023 that we noticed in the horror space. And then we'll kind of recap this year and then end the show talking about horror movies that are coming out in 2024, stuff we might be looking forward to reviewing next year. So it'll be a little bit different, but before we get into everything, let's talk about just a little bit of housekeeping. It's your final reminder here. We do have our January poll currently posted on our Patreon website. If you guys support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this January. The theme is, of course, shit we missed in 2023. And there were a lot of movies that we didn't get a chance to talk about. There's 6 up there for you to vote on. They are, of course, Mithrigan, No One Will Save You, Onyx the Fortuitous, They Clone Tyrone, VHS 85, and When Evil Lurks.
Whoa, Bob, heading out of 2023. How are those numbers looking?
Roughly the same as last week, or really 3 days ago, the last time we recorded.
Yeah. Bob, you're breaking the illusion. Rob.
The illusion.
I start the episode by saying the date of the recording.
Christmas was so great, guys.
You broke the illusion.
They don't know when in time we are.
I won the lottery. I'm a billionaire.
Oh, yeah. When Evil Lurks is still on top, then Mithrigan. And then you got VHS 85, and then a tie between No One Will Save You and They Clone Tyrone, and Onyx still got that one single vote.
There you go, Onyx.
Those are rookie numbers.
Those are
straight to the top.
Straight to the top. Get your votes in before the end of the month. We'll see what movie we're talking about this January. Dropping a minicast every other Friday. This past Friday, we have just dropped a new episode. Your boy Randeezy's talking about the latest Nick Cage hotness. The movie is Dream Scenario. Check it out.
That's
Patreon.
true.
Randy loved it.
Randy, actually, since Nick Cage has like 5 films since we established last episode, I'm actually not familiar with this one. Give me a little plot synopsis real quick, just like an overview.
The synopsis is extraordinarily interesting. Actually, it's not extraordinary. That's overselling it. It's an interesting premise. So this guy, played by Nick Cage, is a meek man who's an academic who's very, whatever, kind of in the background of everything. And he suddenly starts appearing in a shit ton of people's dreams for no apparent reason.
Oh.
And he becomes like an overnight celebrity, and then the celebrity turns a little bit sour, and then he becomes a nightmare for everybody.
Whoa.
And that's the less said from there, the better. It's an interesting movie.
Damn. All right.
That sounds cool. It's A24, isn't it?
It is. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's a very, very, like, I saw that trailer. I was like, fuck, this is like Freddy. It's like Freddy Krueger minus the, like,
Pedophile aspects.
The pedophile rapist product of 10,000 Maniacs situation going on.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to see it.
Okay, well,
Then don't.
That's a mood.
I do want to see it, actually. I saw the trailer. The trailer looks pretty dope. So yeah, I'll check that out eventually. Check out Randy's thoughts on Dream Scenario over on Patreon right now. And that's really all I got for Patreon. Do you guys have anything you want to plug for the end of the year?
Just by now that the second part of my Arctic Monkeys feature came out on Christmas Eve. So you can check that out. That's on the podcast Don't Believe the Hype. We did a 2-parter Christmas special, but you can listen after Christmas. It's not super Christmassy, so you can check that out.
Wow,
you don't have to be as strict as I am.
When it comes to products you have made, it's something that anybody can watch anytime at all. There's no.
Well, you can only watch Prometheus in December. I mean, there's some rules.
Very seasonal with your movies, but when it comes to things you want people to watch, anytime will do.
Yeah. So, but that's all my housekeeping.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that it's very possible that our houses are clean. What do you think, Bob?
Sounds good.
His house is clean.
Oh, boys. We waited all year for the main event.
This is what it was all for.
It all comes down to tonight. Top 10 of 2023. Oh, boys. Goodness gracious. It is exciting. Yes. So if this is the first countdown show you guys have tuned into from Straight Chilling, the way we do it is we'll start from our bottom, number 10, work up to number 1. And if somebody throws a movie title out there that's higher up on somebody else's list, we'll put a pin in that movie until we get to the highest point on the lists. And then we'll all talk about that movie at the same time to avoid talking about the same movie 2, potentially 3 times. Just helps the flow of the show. So that's kind of how we're going to do it. Boys, who wants to kick us off? Number 10 on their list. Randy, you look like you can't wait to jump in.
I probably look like I'm arranging my list again for the 70th time today, because that's what's happening.
Changing your mind.
I have been this year is the only year so far that I in advance just kept track of everything I watched. I tried to rearrange it every so often. So I've rearranged this list dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times, even before this month. And I'm still not happy with it. But I'm just going to go ahead. I got to lock it in. So I'm going to start with my number 10, which is Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism, which is a film that we watched, Bob and I did at the Overlook Film Festival this year. It's an Aussie film, and it is, but for my money, the best possession film of the year. And there were some pretty big name contenders in that category. I don't know. So did you guys see this? Are you guys aware of this?
Yeah, I saw it as well via Overlook. Yeah.
Okay, you did see it over. Okay, so yeah, this is an interesting sort of film in a possession horror canon, because it is based on true events, but for real, not just in name only. That's something I actually did not know going into this film. But it is a situation that happened in Australia. I don't remember the specifics too well at this point, but I thought that the performances in this were great. It's got a lot to say about the role of religion in society and the role of medicine. And I don't know. It's a very, very interesting case that they've chosen to depict on film. And I think that they did it capably well, with at least one character whose name I've forgotten, and he's a real person who I consider just a real rat bastard piece of shit.
Whoa.
That's at least one person. So
gracious.
To get that, yeah, he got quite an emotional response out of me, this figure. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say besides I really think this movie deserves to be seen a little bit more, to be talked about a little bit more. In a year that had Exorcist Believer, Evil Dead Rise, who knows how many possession films, it had stiff competition. And I think it beats both of those out for my money.
So I did want to make a quick note. I had this one that I was going to mention on my honorable mentions if nobody had it in their list. So Randy does, so I won't mention it. But I will say, with any movie, I try to look up today, since some of them we did cover in the festivals. I try to look up like where they would be available at this point, because some of them didn't get theater releases. This one is available on Tubi, and nice. You could check it out for free. Yeah.
Worth watching.
I've definitely seen it around maybe other places too, but yes,
it doesn't.
So that's a good call.
It doesn't feel like stale. I feel like it's really difficult to make a really good exorcism movie because there's only like so many avenues to explore, and we've seen so many of them already. But it doesn't feel stale. It's worth checking out if that's a subgenre that you're into. I would agree. Yeah.
And for those who are looking for like a different angle on religion in their horror movies, like we were talking about that with Exorcist Believer, they had a different angle, but this is one that functions properly because it's based on real things that happened. So it has a lot to say about those sort of things. If you're into that too, I suggest this film.
Yeah, for sure. Check it out on Tubi. Cool. Juice, you want to go next, man? What's your number 10 spot?
Yeah, so my number 10 was going to be Onyx the Fortuitous. Does anybody else have it on their list?
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. I'll hold on to it then.
Stick a pin in that one. My number 10 spot, I'm going to give to a movie called We Might Hurt Each Other.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I haven't either.
So this is one of the movies that we watched. I believe it was for the Chattanooga Film Festival, and I did a little write-up on it. It's on the website if you guys want to read more thoughts that I had. So this is the first Lithuanian slasher movie ever made.
I remember that. Yeah,
it's a pretty cool setup for a slasher movie. It's these kids in Lithuania. They graduate high school. They want to have like one final party, one big blowout before they all like go their separate ways to colleges. And this one of the kids, his mom is a realtor, and she's trying to sell this house in the sticks, and he steals the keys, and they go there to have a big party. And they bring like a DJ set up, and they're having a rave like in the middle of the woods, and they find these like folk statue carvings, and they're getting high and drunk, and they just start defacing these sculptures, and the dude who made them doesn't really take too kindly to it. The slasher is like got some dimension to him. He's not just sort of like a faceless, voiceless hunk of flesh running around. It's fairly interesting, and also the kids aren't just like your super stereotypical red shirts. There's a little bit of dimension to them as well. And it's just like really beautifully shot too. I enjoyed this one a pretty good bit. It sticks the landing well, and I don't know that I've ever seen a Lithuanian movie at all before this. So
yeah, that's news to me.
This one is on Screambox. I'm not sure if it's anywhere else, but it's definitely on Screambox, so you can check it out there if you'd like.
It is Screambox. Never mind. It's on Amazon Prime, but it's through Screambox. So
okay, cool. Yeah, that's my number 10 spot.
Nice. Yeah, I have to check that one out. I forgot. I remember you talking about it a lot, but I never checked it out. So put it at the top of my list.
Do it.
Oh man,
Randy.
The list is gonna grow.
Number 9. What you got?
My number 9. So my number 9 is one that we all covered on this here podcast back in the November times, and that was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, Eli Roth's return. Do you guys have that on your list as well?
Yes, I do.
You do. All right. We'll sit tight on that. How about you, Juice? What's your 9?
All right. We might have to sit tight again, but number 9 is They Clone Tyrone. Does anybody else have that one?
No.
I do indeed.
I didn't think it was horror enough to put on my list. That's the only reason it's not on.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. No.
You fucked up. You fucked up.
I gotta change everything. Hold on.
Well, I'll just sit over here and sip my cocktail then, Bob. Right back over to you.
None of my business.
My number 9 spot I'm gonna give to Evil Dead Rise. Do you guys have it?
No. Not on my list. No.
Okay.
Nope.
So
it didn't squeak in.
As far as like the like bigger franchise sort of legacy sequels that came out this year, and there were many of them, Evil Dead Rise is really the only one that is worth watching at all, really, I think. As far as Evil Dead movies go, I still think there isn't really a bad one. This one definitely pales in comparison to the originals, but it's still a movie that I really enjoyed watching in the theater. I think it's got some solid kills, and I like that they switched up the setting, even though it was still very much a contained environment. The cinematography was really great. The blood elevator I thought was a great moment, and the thing that really set this movie off for me was the acting. I forget the actress's name, but the mom when she gets possessed in this movie just really pushes it over the edge and does a fantastic job.
Alyssa Sutherland.
God, she's so good in this movie. I also really like kind of the way they approached it, in that it seems like this movie and also Evil Dead movies going forward, they're going to be focused on these 3 books of the dead, and they're all a little bit different, and they can sort of be found in different places and in different times. And I think that's a really smart way to do it. So you're not you don't have to stick to these same characters and make a trilogy, which is what so many other franchises are trying to do. I think it opens it up a little more. Yeah.
I also like this movie for basically all the reasons you say, except the 3 book thing. I like it on its face, but then I think that's just going to lead to further retconning in a series that's trying to correct that ongoing issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Hopefully not, but I think it's a smart way to approach it anyways, because in theory you shouldn't be tied to anything but just these books,
Yeah.
So yeah, overall I thought it was pretty solid. Yeah, number 9.
Hell yeah.
Number 8 already, Randy. What do you got?
Damn, that is crazy. So this is where I slotted in Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls.
Ooh, now we can
Bob,
talk
did you
about it.
did you put it on yours? I can't remember.
Yeah, I got a little higher.
Oh, okay.
Don't get too excited.
Keep my mouth shut.
Juice. You got to open your mouth now. What? You're number 8. What you got?
Yeah, I don't think y'all will have this on here. I could be wrong though, but at number 8, I have In My Mother's Skin. Do you have?
Haven't seen it yet, but you have.
Okay,
you have sung this movie's praises more than once. So.
I have. So even I was trying to push Bob before the end of the year, try to get this one if you want a maybe secret hidden gem that could skyrocket to the top. So this one, it's set in the Philippines during World War II. So it's kind of a period piece, which we just got with Godzilla as well. And the thing about this movie is it's got the setting really carries a lot of weight, but not just that. It's got a lot of Del Toro vibes to it, to the point where kind of one of the main characters is kind of this fairy godmother-esque character. The not only is the setting beautiful, but the costume designs, if you just look up pictures of this, the way that the fairy is designed and stuff, it looks so good. It's so creative. It's based, I heard the guy the director do a Q&A, and he said it is based on this folklore that's based in his kind of hometown, that just gives it this really richness, but also it follows these 2 kind of kid actors, and that can be really hit or miss. And really the girl, the older sister, is the one who's your main follow through. And she's just kind of trying to get her family through the war. Her dad has to go off and deal with some business stuff going on with the war. Her mom gets sick. She's taking care of her younger brother. So there's a lot of real life horrors going on. And then you add in this element of kind of what the fairy godmother thing is doing and how it plays out. And it's really good. It's really rich. It looks fantastic. It's great.
It sounds a lot like Pan's Labyrinth.
It is
just in concept.
Yeah. Cause the World War II thing or whatever, it's different in a lot of key aspects, but it does have a lot of similarities. And I just think that this is one of the best hidden gems of the year. It's really good.
Nice. I'll have to watch that, man. That sounds dope.
It is available on Amazon Prime.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, check that out. Bob, your number 8?
My number 8 is When Evil Lurks. You guys have this?
I got that one a little bit higher.
Okay. Stick a pin in it.
I completely forgot to put that in my fucking list.
Oh, boy. We all got to redo our lists.
It's done. The deed is done. I'm not. It's in stone.
Yeah, no worries, man. Randy, it goes to you then. You're number
7.
All right, that would have honestly been affected at least a few spots on here, but oh well.
What?
My number 7 is Infinity Pool. Any other Infinity Pool takers?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll hang on to it. We'll hang on to it.
Juice, you're number 7.
All right. I think I'll get to speak again. El Conde. Anybody else got that
not
one?
Not on mine.
Nah.
No. Okay. So this is one I think I did a mini cast on as well, and it is another period piece. It is about a vampire who decides that he's going to kind of use his immortality to kind of just like affect a country. Like he becomes a dictator, essentially. So kind of like what Dracula would be, but it's set in Argentina, I think. Is it Argentina? Something like it's set in South America. And there, it does a lot of interesting aspects with vampire lore. Like he takes a bride that's not a vampire, and they have kids. And they play with like how vampires age, and like if you don't eat for a while, like stuff like that. And so it becomes this. It's black and white. It's in like 3 different languages. It plays with all of this like time periods and vampire lore, but it's also got a lot of kind of comedy to it, because it kind of comes into this thing of like, if our father dies, will he turn us into vampires? Will we get his estate? But then there's also, because he's a dictator, that like church assigns this nun to like seduce him and kill him. So it's very interesting.
So we got sexy nun action in this?
Oh yeah, there's sexy nun action in this.
All right.
Yeah,
around here that means big money.
Oh, well.
Some I probably need to cover with Caitlin. But yeah, so it's just a very, very interesting film. It's like got all these different aspects to it. There was one scene that still like I remember distinctly in my mind that was like one of the most beautiful scenes I've seen this year. It just really hit me in the right way. And I think this is a very just unique, interesting movie.
Sounds like it.
Nice.
Sounds wild.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I saw the trailer, and it's not what I expected out of just the poster or the streaming icon or whatever. Very, very like I assumed it was like right up the same alley as The Girl Who Walks Home Alone at Night. Like that's just the vibe I got from the image, and it sounds very different than that. So.
Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Nice. Number
Bob,
7 goes
number
to
7.
me. I have Thanksgiving at number 7.
Okay.
All right.
I do not have it higher.
No.
Okay.
All right. Let's
All right.
talk about it.
Thanksgiving, the hands down my favorite Eli Roth movie thus far.
Yeah.
I think you did a really good job cashing in on the Thanksgiving theme and ideas. The design of John Carver, the mask, the silhouette, everything looks fantastic. There's a lot of really interesting kills. There's a lot of great comedy. The fucking accents in this movie were cracking me up. With the dude that throws the party and he's like selling all these beer to these kids. It's fucking super hilarious.
Yeah.
And I think it ultimately was probably a good idea to switch up from that like grindhouse aesthetic and update it a little more. It probably would have been cool either way, but I feel like that vibe is just a little like, I don't know. It's been done. Like, 2006, 2007 was that when Grindhouse, the double feature came out. It's like so long ago.
Yeah.
And like, it feels like slashers are kind of having a decent moment now. So it's probably, I don't know if he was forced to do that or not, but either way, I think it was probably a decent idea to do that. And I don't know. I think it'll probably be an annual watch for me. I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, it might be an annual watch for me as well. I think it's honestly like probably the best slasher of the year for me, for my money. It's just honestly like way better than I could have expected. I totally like, this is not a secret to anybody, but Eli Roth is also not my jam. I liked Cabin in the Woods, and that's just about it. I like this more than that. So definitely my favorite from him. And I don't know that I wouldn't have enjoyed a grindhouseier version of this as much personally. But I liked what we got. I thought that it was like creative enough, and it kept things moving, and it was tight. It did everything that you want out of a silly slasher movie, and all of those sort of like rough edges, maybe some of the performances and some of the other stuff, they were smoothed over real nice by the seasonality of it, for my money. So yeah, I'm a fan. I like it.
So
John
full transparency from me, this is the one that got pushed out last minute change from 10 to 11. So it was right there. So yeah,
I also my 10.
Yeah,
but I forgot when he works.
Well, but yeah, so I agree. This was probably the best slasher from the year.
Yeah, good shit. Right on. Yeah, check out our full review of it. Came out a few weeks ago. If you want to hear us talk about it at length. Getting into number 6, Randy. What you got?
Well, I have a feeling that at least one of you will have this, maybe both. Artifice Girl, I put on here.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, I thought we said it was. I thought we had that discussion.
Did we agree on that? I don't remember having that discussion.
I don't remember that discussion. No,
I don't think so.
It's fine. Go for it.
Well, all right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say Artifice Girl, but I'm also going to say When Evil Lurks, and you're going to get the privilege of guessing which one I'm talking about and when. So this is a fascinating little movie, and we have had the pleasure, or you guys have had the pleasure, of having discussions with the director. There's a Q&A session that it's available somewhere, right?
It's on our main
I did a straight up interview,
and
the interview.
Franklin
Rich on our main feed back in July or so, something like that.
Go. So go back and listen to that. We're talking about When Evil Lurks, of course, and
totally.
So yeah, this is just a fascinating movie that like really took me by surprise. It's bottled. It's very much like an enclosed film for the most part. The performances, everything, it all stems from like just fantastic and extremely thought-provoking dialogue, which is something that I am just absolutely a sucker for. And that's not to say it's like necessarily a slouch in its visuals or anything like that. It does a lot with very, very little. And but all of it, just like the power of it, comes from the topics and the way that they're explored, the way that they're discussed. I just think this movie is another one that needs a lot more attention because, man, the brutality towards the children in this movie is just a top notch. Like they really go for the throat. They pull no punches.
Now we're on.
There's really not a whole lot of explanation.
Swerve, yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. There's not. Oh, you're doing a bit.
No, I'm doing a bit, and I think that somebody else has When Evil Lurks. Like that's honestly, I just wrote a note in, put When Evil Lurks under this, above in the spot above this. So. That's what would have been there. Oh, well.
No worries. Yeah, The Artifice Girl is dope, and that's another one I know that is definitely on Tubi, but I think you can rent it for a few bucks, too, so it's pretty damn accessible. So check out Artifice Girl, and definitely keep an eye out for more coming from Franklin Rich.
Yeah, that was going to be, since I thought we had said, but yeah, it's definitely like more sci-fi, but it was going to be in my top like recommends. It's really, especially... for people who like thought-provoking films, it's got a lot to chew on. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah,
check it out. Number 6, Juice. What you got?
Number 6 is A New Religion, the Japanese film. Anybody else put that one?
No,
Anybody else got that one? No? Okay. So this is another one. I think I wrote an article for this one on our website. This one is available. Is that the one that's on Screenbox?
It is, yeah.
It is on Screenbox. Okay. And it's probably available to rent other places as well. Usually when they're available like that, you can get them at least rent or something. But yeah, this was a Japanese film, and I really liked it. I thought that it gave me some David Cronenberg vibes. Some of the way the lighting is done, some of the way the characters kind of play out. It's very what was Rachel called Infinity Pool something interesting, and it reminded me of that. It was like soul horror or something instead of like body horror. Yeah, and they kind of reminded me of that because it follows this mother who has lost her child, and she's kind of dealing with the grief of that in her life with her kind of like ex-husband and the people around her. And then there's also this very interesting villain who has one of those things in their neck that where it was like punctured or something. What is that called?
Oh yeah, it's like
tracheotomy
a voice
thing?
box.
Yeah. Yeah, like a voice box kind of thing. Yeah. And he has it linked like throughout his house, like to these speakers. And so no matter where you are, he's like speaking and it goes throughout the whole house. It's pretty wild. And there's a lot of wild imagery and thoughts going on. And I just thought, and again, another really interesting, wild film that left me with some scenes and mainly like to that villain that have just kind of like lived in my mind for the year, more than a lot of other things. So yeah, it's kind of made an impact in that way. I thought it was a really cool villain and some amazing visuals and some things to like really chew on that's with different in horror these days, I think. So yeah, New Religion.
That is a good one. It's an interesting one. Check it out.
Yeah,
I gotta watch that one too. There's a number of like this is the beauty of these top 10 lists is like especially this year because we all got the privilege of participating in so many festivals which we had never really truly done before in this on this scale. So there's a lot of films that like would have otherwise completely gone under the radar for us that I'm hearing about or that we're talking about. So yeah,
we watched a lot of movies this year.
We did.
A lot. Number
Bob,
6.
over to you. Number 6.
For Bob, I'm pretty certain you guys aren't going to have this on your list. Renfield.
not on my list.
Yeah, didn't think so.
It is not on my list.
Oh, I thought you had it at number 1 for a second. Oh my God.
That was drama for the cameras to cut down later. Gonna add some sweet sound effects. Yeah.
Zoom in, a couple zoom ins.
This movie, I feel like it's just kind of tailor made for like my taste. Nick Cage as Dracula. It takes place in New Orleans. I really like horror comedies that like lean into the comedy. This definitely does that quite a bit. It's got excessive gore. It's got ska jokes. It's just like a really great, entertaining popcorn flick that I think really delivers on the premise, delivers on the idea. I think Nick Cage as Dracula is just a lot of fucking fun. He's definitely the highlight of the movie, and you get to see him in like various different Draculas. Like it starts off with him like in the black and white classic like 1931 Dracula, and they like superimpose him in the movie and it looks great. And then you see him like with his face half blown off later, and like he can't really speak because his jaw isn't fully formed back. And then you got the suave version with his like velvet coat and everything. He's super funny in the role, and he's clearly like having a great time with it. Excessive gore, good fight scenes. Maybe the plot's a bit meandering. It's not totally perfect, but I found it to be entertaining as hell, and it kept me laughing consistently. They do a lot of good jokes involving the tropes of a vampire, and I dug it. I know you guys were a little cooler on it than I was, but I think it seems like nobody saw it in the theater. I know it's streaming now, so maybe more people have seen it since then, but like it did not do good numbers in the theater, unfortunately. But I dug it a lot.
Yeah, what I will say, like I'm a big fan of Nick Holt, and he's in this. I mean, I like Nick Cage a lot too, but I mean, it is nice and refreshing to see him given a lead role because he's not typically given that. And so
Lex Luthor.
Yeah. So he just recently got cast. So, and maybe it had something to do with this film, him being able to handle this role.
Maybe.
And yeah, maybe. So I think I was a little more sour on it, but it has lived in my mind as one I would like to revisit maybe early next year, just to give it some space. And we had to like hyper analyze it and stuff like that. I kind of would just like to watch it to enjoy it or to,
it's a popcorn movie. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah. So it is one that I would like to come back to. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I think it's a good movie. I don't dislike it. It's somewhere in the teens of my list.
Yeah.
But actually it's 20. Wow. That's with the additional one in there. Yes. So I mean, I agree largely that it's very silly if you're not meant to take it too seriously. I do think that some of the jokes rang a lot more hollow to me on the second watch. I think that we just had a very, very good in-theater experience the first time at the Overlook Film Festival, which didn't hurt anything, a good beer scenario, as we call it. And, I don't know that it's one that I would go to bat for and have been like, in the forums or anything like that. But it's one that I think is a reasonably good. reasonably
Nice.
good horror comedy. That I like the aesthetic of it more than just about anything else about it. It's very good, and the performances are good. They're just most of them are good. There's at least one or two that aren't.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's our number 6. Moving in, we're halfway there, boys. Moving into number 5. Randy, what you got?
Yeah. So this is where I slotted in They Cloned Tyrone. Has anybody got it higher?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because Bob thought this was Bob's. We all had like
Not
one
horror
that
enough,
we.
yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, They Cloned Tyrone. It's a very, very fun, I would say, sci-fi horror comedy. It's more comedy than it is anything else, and it's certainly a little bit more sci-fi than it is horror, I would say. But whatever the alchemy of those, like whatever push and pull there is there, it doesn't really matter. It ultimately nets out to a very entertaining and funny movie. John Boyega is doing a character that I've never seen him do, really. I'm not familiar with a ton of his work, but it was interesting to see him play like almost a straight man that goes like put in this absurd situation, and he's like eventually kind of absurd himself, obviously, but like Jamie Foxx kills it in this. Like the whole cast is just so fucking funny. It goes to places I did not expect it to go. And it's like it's dealing with racial stuff or whatever. It's got some themes for you to chew on in there. We love themes around here, don't we, folks? Yes. But at the same time, like it's just making like very ridiculous comedy in a very genre specific world. And again, another movie that just visually looks great. This is like, I don't know. I don't think 2023 was like the best year for horror movies or anything like that. I think we've discussed how it is definitely not that, but there's been no shortage of movies that look great this year, if nothing else. And this is definitely one of them. It just also happens to be very, very funny and have a little bit of something to chew on. Those are the things I look for. So.
Yeah, so this was my number 9, and yeah, this one was a surprise for me. I thought it was horror enough. I mean, it's definitely more in the sci-fi, but I mean, there's some tense moments. It plays, I think, a lot off of some old school, like the hidden, the hidden labs and like, well, are people spying on you and stuff. It's definitely more threatening than something like, we talked about Artifice Girl. It definitely got threats and a lot of danger and stuff going on, and maybe some old Twilight Zone stuff, references and stuff. But yeah, I just I thought the performances were great, and it was just something that you just don't get a lot of. We're not getting a lot of this kind of sci-fi, I guess I would say, and yeah, it was just refreshing, and yeah, it looked great. Good performances. It's just a total surprise for me. Yeah, I liked it.
It's also largely riffing on like blaxploitation movies from like the 70s and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's this
dude. Jamie Foxx's look is so blaxploitation. It's crazy.
It's a wild blend of genres and tones, and I think it nails every single one of them. It's as far as like new movies that I saw this year, this would be in my top 3, honestly, of any genre. And it's one it just went to Netflix. And when I first put it on, I was like, I don't know, man. It's another one of those like 2-hour, 20-minute Netflix movies that always feel like they overstay their welcome. They're meandering and not just kind of underwhelming. But this, I was enthralled for like every minute, honestly. I really, really enjoyed it. So definitely watch that one if you haven't. Cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Number 5, Juice.
So this is where I have When Evil Lurks, Bob. I'm assuming we're going higher on it.
No, I had it. I already said it. So I think we're good.
You did?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
When was yours? What number?
When I realized I missed it?
Number 8.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Then I guess... Okay, and then I said I have it higher, so now we're talking.
Now we're talking.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
This machine
works.
Just
I was thinking, I was like, man, was I just blanked out for Bob's conversation? Now I remember the rules. Okay, so yeah, When Evil Lurks, this one, it's brutal. This one, it's a different kind of possession film, and I definitely like that. We've been talking about that more and more, having possession films that aren't tied to like the Catholic Church. And this director, he's we covered a movie of his before, and he does some things that a lot of horror directors are kind of scared to do or don't do a lot. And there's like some kid violence or violence against kids in here. There's just some really brutal things going on, but they're done in a tactful way. It's not like a Terrifier where it's just straight up in your face. I think it builds good tension, and it makes some sense for the logic that's set up in the movie. It's got some kind of like folklore thing going on, this like superstition of this possession of like this body just gets possessed and starts to spread out around the town. You can't like shoot it, or there's like these rules that they set up. Very interesting. And it follows these two brothers who are just kind of like dealing with this situation, trying to get out of this town as this possession kind of spreads. And I was pretty impressed by this.
Yeah,
me too. This is like Damien Rugna's return, right? So from after Terrified, which also had like some child adjacent stuff going on. So like this guy does not shy away from that. I guess that's something that if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, you should be aware of.
Yeah,
as you go into any of his films, it sounds like. Bob, you had this at number 8, you said, right? So.
I did. Yeah. So this, I agree with everything you guys said. This guy's from Argentina. It's a Spanish language movie. Both of his movies are on Shudder if you want to check them out. I don't want to add too much more to it because we're probably going to be doing a full review on it very soon.
Good, yeah.
It seems like it's going to win the poll. But yeah, it's an interesting possession movie, real brutal. Yeah, I agree. Totally. Check it out if you haven't seen it, because you might want to watch it before you hear our full review, probably next week. So do that. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I think it's good to bite our tongues on that one.
Yeah, good call. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, no worries. Number 5 on my list, I had Onyx the Fortuitous. Does anybody have it?
Onyx!
No?
Man, no.
All right.
No.
So Andrew Bowser created this character of Onyx the Fortuitous. He wrote this movie. He directed this movie. This is clearly like a labor of love of his that's been in the making for about a decade or so. And you just kind of like feel the love that he's put into it. It feels very homegrown. And the character of Onyx is like, I find to be like very funny. I could see some people putting this on and finding him a bit annoying, but if you've ever been just like a big old awkward nerd, I think you can probably identify in some way with Onyx, the Fortuitous in this movie. It also has a lot of like other great characters in it. Everybody else that is like the supporting cast. The characters feel like they're pretty well developed and like the performances are solid. You've also got Jeffrey Combs playing the big bad in this, and you get a bit of a cameo from Barbara Crampton as well. There's a lot of great practical effects. There's a lot of rubber monsters. There's a lot of puppetry, like old school Jim Henson kind of stuff. It's just a lot of fun.
Not exactly, but yeah.
Well, I mean, they're full-blown puppets. So I guess they don't look exactly like Jim Henson.
They ain't Muppets, though. Let's just get that clear.
That's fair. That's fair. They are not Muppets. But I really dig the way they went about doing all the monsters, all the characters, and it's kind of like a gateway horror movie too. It's not like real gory. There's not a lot of like, curse words or like explicit, like no sex scenes or anything. So like if you wanted to show like a new horror movie to your kid, I think
maybe there was
jokes, and I think there is
is there? I guess I forgot about it.
But I think it's like, but it's played for laughs.
Yeah.
Like,
they're spying through the wall, I think. Yeah.
Anyway,
there's some sexual situations, but certainly some sexual jokes. So it's like a PG-13.
Sure.
That way.
Yeah. It's not super explicit, anyways. I had a lot of fun with this one. I feel like this is one that's it's extremely underseen because it got a theatrical release for one night in October, and that was it. And then it went to Screambox, and it just came out on Blu-ray this week. So it's a little more accessible now. Check it out.
You almost didn't get to see this year at all.
Dude, I tried. The one that almost
almost kept us from seeing that.
Dude, really? This is a funny story, and we're gonna tell it. So we got digital screeners of this film from not one but two different film festivals, because the first one I think, right? Or no?
No, it was from the same film festival, but the problem was it was like our third or fourth that we were covering, and everyone does it differently. So how they give out screeners. Yeah. So this one, it was our first one where they had a limit on the watch. Well, Bob's trying to watch it on his phone out in the field one day, and he's not getting good. He's not getting good, sir. I think they gave us like 10 watches, and Bob's just over here, refresh. And just ate up all the views. And then I had to like ask, like, hey, could you please give it us again? And there was like a delay, and it was kind of a struggle. And they finally did. And I was like, Bob, I know you really want to watch this, so I'm gonna let you watch it. But it had a time limit on it too. I waited to the last night. I was like, Bob, did you watch this? No. So I watched it, and then Bob's like 6 hours later was like, I can't watch this movie. What's going on with this
dude
movie?
They only gave us one more view, like, and then I did, and then the same thing happened, but I watched it. Like,
I don't know how
this happened.
I don't know how that worked exactly.
We asked 3 more times for this fucking movie.
I got to watch the first 30 minutes like 2 or 3 times, and I never got to see anything else because I was gonna watch it that one night, Juice, and I came home and I put it on at like, I don't know, 9 or something like that. And it was just like, no, it's expired. And I was like, what the fuck? So anyway, you can watch it on Screenbox. You can rent it. You can buy it on Blu-ray.
Fuck you.
Definitely check out Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. It's worth watching.
Hang on. This was my number 10, so I need a chance to talk about it.
Get in there.
So I will say this is the one, as I was saying, this is the one that flipped back and forth and ultimately beat out Thanksgiving. And the reason I am going to give it is this is one that I came into expecting not to really like. I thought, you know what, this isn't really my bag. And I knew this guy, if you know, he has a YouTube channel and he had a video that kind of blew up a while ago where he has this kind of shtick or whatever. And I thought, you know, if he's doing this character through the whole movie, I don't think that, you know, we talked about it with last week with the Yule log, like, you know, can you really stretch this into a full movie, this kind of shtick? And I just didn't think he'd be able to. And honestly, I was so impressed that I had to give it this spot. It's kind of an endearing film, but it's very funny and it's just well put together. And I had a lot of fun watching it, and I was just really impressed that I just didn't absolutely hate this character by the end of it. And it's like super goofy, but like in a relatable kind of way. And yeah, just really impressive, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I think that this is one of those movies that, again, desperate for more people to see it because it's one of these movies that it has no right being as good as it is. Yeah. Try and think, and this is something I was going to talk about. We were going to talking about trends from this year. Well, one trend was YouTuber movies or YouTube. Good movies call. That started on YouTube. This is think of any viral sensation online who went on to try and capitalize it with a YouTube movie. Fucking Fred or Angry Video Game Nerd. Those movies suck assholes. They're very bad, and you know, like. Everybody, I haven't even seen most of those, but like their reputation is that everybody hates them, including fans of those people. That's what I expected from this. Like, I like the Onyx character in his viral stuff, and it's fun, but it's like small bites, just like you said, Juice. It has no right being able to expand into an hour and a half without becoming grating and annoying. He just stacks the cast with a lot of like interesting characters, interesting visuals. This is like a legitimate film. It's a silly film, but it's a legitimate film that just so happens to center around a character that started as like seemingly a one-off gag. So I don't know. I agree. I'm very impressed with it, and I think Andrew Bowser deserves some praise there. I hope there's a second Onyx film in the works at some point, or at least some new stuff from him.
This was like kickstarted, crowdfunded. I think they ended up raising about $600,000, and like after watching it, it's kind of amazing they made it on such a low budget. But it's
they had one scene that is tailor made for my specific tastes, really, and I know you guys know the one I'm talking about, and it blew my dick into the goddamn air. It was amazing.
Hell yeah! Okay,
loved
cool.
It.
Well, that wraps up our number 5 spot. Let's get into our number 4s. Randy, what you got?
Yeah, so again, going with sort of a smaller feature. These are, again, like, I'm so pleased that we got to see all these movies. We stepped outside our comfort zone and went into these other places because it gave us a chance to get acquainted with movies like Brooklyn 45. Any other people have that on your list?
Yeah.
Both of you. Okay.
Yeah.
I do,
All right,
but
well,
it's
that's my number.
I will say it's in the same spot. Bob, you
Okay,
got a
Bob,
higher?
yours higher?
I got a higher, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we'll sit on it. But
So Bob,
Right back to
Bob.
me.
Bob,
All right.
What you got, Bob? Number 4.
My number 4, you guys probably have this. Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
it's on here.
Stick a pin in that. We'll be right back. Straight on to number 3. I got Brooklyn 45 at number 3. So
Oh,
we might.
do we want to
well.
just do that now?
Well, yeah, sure. Let's just do Brooklyn. Let's all
Let's
talk
just
about
do that
Brooklyn
now.
45 for right now.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, kicks you start, Randy. Might as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Bob and I had the pleasure of seeing this film at Overlook Film Festival before it dropped on Shudder this year, and that's where it lives now, is my understanding still. And another sort of like bottle film that is just written to the hilt, if you know what I'm saying. Like it is just like rock solidly written and gives you so much to think about. The premise of this, for those who haven't listened to our episode on it, is that these old friends in Brooklyn in 1945, they meet after the war. They're all in some way connected to the war, and the war is technically over, but you couldn't tell some of these people that. And there's some push and pull about paranoia of war and fog of war and just trauma and all sorts of shit is rolled into this.
Yeah.
Prejudice, absolutely, is like maybe central more than anything else. And it's like a damn good movie. And what made it like all the sweeter is that Bob and I got to hang out for like a minute just chit-chatting with Ted Gagan, the creator or the director and writer of this film. And he told us a little bit about that. We have some stuff about that somewhere on the site, don't we?
Yeah, we recorded a Q&A with Ted. That is
it on our episode?
It is on our
Patreon.
Our mini cast. Yeah, it's a mini cast on Patreon.
So check out our Patreon for that. But yeah, I just really, really love this movie. Visually, it was fucking perfect. The color grading, I will go to my grave happy about the color grading in this movie, or not even color grading, just the color choices of keeping it very Christmassy without keeping that red, that burgundy. It was somewhat modeled, if I remember right, after Home Alone, which also did a similar thing. And it's just so fucking great. And there's so much to talk about in this movie. There's so much to think about. And there's some pretty like fucking fun, just spooky effects. A couple are a little bit hokier because it is a low budget thing. But the fact that they made so much with so little, I have nothing. I'm pleased as punch with this movie. I couldn't say anything better about it.
Yeah. So this is my number 4. And luckily I said this when we covered it. I didn't have the bias of kind of like talking with the director and being in the space when it was, presented and stuff. I just thought it was really fucking good. And yeah, another thing I'll bring up later when we're talking about our trends. On my list, at least 3, possibly 4, because I can't remember exactly with El Conde, have ties to World War II. Yeah. Because we got this definitely in my mother's skin, and we'll talk about Godzilla later. I'm like, holy shit, okay. Yeah. So yeah, just the aesthetic of this is beautiful. The really, this is another movie where there's a lot of talking going on, but everybody kills it. And the ideas that they're presenting are relevant today, but also great at seeing like how they were relevant, but like slightly different back in the day, and how
it reminds me of a time that is past.
A simpler time, I guess. But yeah, it's just, I was very impressed, and it has these elements, these spooky elements that I said at the time didn't necessarily need to be in there, but the way that they were included felt natural and were handled really well. And I appreciate them kind of being added in there because they really didn't need to be. So tying that to horror, gives a little boost from me. So yeah, I loved it. Bob, you had this high number 3.
Number 3, yeah, this is my top 3. This is a great bottle movie, which I think we all are prone to enjoy. And it starts off as like this really classic kind of like seance scene, which is like just really cool, like old school horror vibes. And then it kind of gets a little bit bigger from there. Larry Fessenden is kind of like leading the seance. And it's really cool to see him like stretch his acting chops a little bit. He usually does little bit parts, but he's like a major he's got a major role in this movie, which is pretty cool. He does a good job too. Everybody does. And I think it's also kind of neat to know, like, just sort of what happened behind the scenes and writing this. Like, Ted wrote this with his father, and it was like a kind of a passion project that they both were able to work on. His father was in the service, I forget what branch, and he was sort of like able to help him with some of the dialogue in the script and how like a major might talk to, you know, one of his underlings or whatever. So it's really great. It's on Shudder. If you haven't seen Brooklyn 45, it's a perfect time to watch it now because it is a movie that takes place during Christmas and it is Christmas season. So check that shit out. Number 3 is unless there's anything else you want to mention for Brooklyn 45 before we keep rolling.
No. I was just
all right. Randy, what do you got at number 3?
So my number 3, I'm confident this is not on either of your lists. I am including Skinamarink. And this is a film that is a very, very, very divisive. And we've covered at length my feelings about this on our episode about it. But ultimately, I am very, very pleased that a movie like this can get made. I'm very, very pleased that this is, you know, something that is even possible to get a release like it did. And just as an experience, this is a movie that washes over me. It's all about the experience and like just letting it hit you and just living in that moment. There were a couple of spots in this movie where it was a little bit hard for me to look at the camera or look at the screen rather. And that's saying something for a movie that shows you very fucking little. Like this movie thrives on your imagination. And what can I say? I think that's fucking incredible that it is able to pull out like foreboding and fear with so fucking little, and then, you know, intersperse just a handful of like jump scare bullshit, which it works perfectly with the amount of like cock teasing that goes on with that. I mean, I don't know. I really like this movie. I know that a lot of people see it as dull. It reminds me very much of when Paranormal Activity came out, and everybody either thought it was like the greatest thing that's ever happened, the scariest movie of all time, due to the marketing campaign that told us that, or it was the most boring thing in the world. And I remember sitting right between you, Juice, and resident serial killer Drew, as you had both of those polar opposite reactions to that film. And I was, and conceptually and physically, I was in the middle of that. I kind of feel like more on, like I'm like 85% towards the, oh shit, this is scary sort of thing. But the extra amount that pushes it to my number 3 spot is just the breaking of the seal of this kind of film and allowing these small creators with not just small budgets, but like sort of like broad ideas,
micro budgets, like small doesn't even like it was $15,000. That's
you're right.
Insane.
Like making a movie in your home that winds up in theaters should be fucking celebrated, as long as it's not, you know, I don't know.
And honestly, like you put it at 3, and it is kind of like people love it or hate it in some ways. But I mean, I've seen it at the top of a lot of people agree at the top of like lists, number ones. Like,
it's
I wish it wasn't so divisive.
It's one of our most downloaded episodes this year. People are really intrigued by it, and they should be. It's interesting. It's not like many other movies that have come before it, but I do think...
Good for that guy.
I think it'll be a bit of a trendsetter, and we'll talk more about that for sure.
Whoa.
It did, dude. There was like so few movies actually like scared the shit out of me this year, and there's one moment in this movie where I audibly like screamed. It got me so fucking good.
And that's fair. Yeah. It physically affected me. I told you guys, I was like, I don't think I could have watched this in the theater because it made me so uncomfortable. And that's part of the dislike for, I don't hate, I don't think it's dull. It's a very uncomfortable movie. But that makes it effective in a lot of ways. I respect the shit out of it for sure.
See, and like, I like a movie that if it can make me feel discomfort, like that's why I didn't include it this high on the list. It's not in my top 10 by any means, but Beau is Afraid is also like a movie I enjoyed for that reason. It's because it's pulling you out of, you know, what you expect to see in a movie. It's not a movie that placates you. It's a movie that invites you to, I don't know, to imagine and feel what's happening in front of you and not, I don't know, like just let it wash over you. There's no better way for me to describe it than that. You really just have to take it like a roller coaster, even if it's a slow as fuck roll. It's really more of a dark ride.
Yeah, that's a better analogy. Yeah. Cool. Juice, you're number 3. What you got?
So number 3 is Godzilla -1. We need to take a moment. Wait on it.
Oh, wait on it, please.
Oh, okay. We're waiting on it. Nice.
Wait on it.
Well, then that leads us right into our number 2. Randy,
Two.
What you got at your number 2?
Well, my number 2 is Godzilla -1. So
Okay, well, let's get into it then.
Perfect.
I forgot that you already did your 3. So yes, let's go to Godzilla -1.
Go ahead.
I mean, I just talked a lot, but
Okay.
short version, we just did a review. This is a great fucking movie. This is definitely one of the best Godzilla movies for my tastes. Godzilla is evil as fuck in this movie without being like personified too much. And all the personification, all of the heart, all of the other stuff is filled in by other characters who, in a franchise that is often beset with characters you don't give a shit about, this is the complete opposite of that. And so huge success in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a very accessible film. And this is something I'm going to bring up with maybe some honorable mentions. We kind of dropped a little bit with Franklin's movie, Artifice Girl. And honestly, the thing that maybe kept this out of the number 1 spot, and I've said it in years past, so I'm trying to stay like pretty consistent, is with this top 10 horror of the year, I try to really give the number 1 spot to something that's just like straight up horror, but this one's just so good that and it's horror enough for us to cover. We cover kaiju films and stuff like that from time to time, monster films, so it's definitely good enough to be like included. But it really is. It's one of the richest films from this year. Another one set in World War II, and just taking Godzilla seriously, but also like using Godzilla as a device to tell this really kind of beautiful story, and kind of introduce you to these really interesting characters, and to spend time with things that not a lot of movies are dealing with. We talked about male vulnerability and just the idea of like not submitting yourself to suicide, and taking that cultural approach, but making it very relatable and understandable. It's a fantastic film. It really is really good. Bob, you had this.
This was my number 4, and the main reason I didn't have it higher was because I wanted to at least keep my top 3 like more horror centric.
Sure.
But this movie is absolutely gorgeous. I love the cinematography and the old filmic look they achieve. It looks like a movie that was made in the 40s, late 40s. Another World War II movie with some really interesting like post-World War II politics happening in Japan, and the treatment of the kamikaze pilot that may have survived the war is just super interesting. It does a great job balancing the human story with the Godzilla destruction, and the design of Godzilla was great. The way he charges up his heat breath and everything was fantastic. There's like moments of this that remind me a lot of Jaws, which is just really enjoyable. The acting was great. It's an amazing movie, honestly. It's fantastic, and definitely be sure to check it out if you haven't already. And then listen to our full review.
For not being a kaiju guy, really, like actually sitting down to watch a kaiju movie is rarely anything that I'm going to do. I will rewatch this movie. Like,
same. Yeah.
One day I'm gonna get that urge and be like, I gotta watch that again. I can already feel it building. So
it's one of those clip ones too, where I know, I'm gonna get that itch and be like, let me watch this scene on YouTube, and then I'm just for the next like 3 weeks, I'm gonna be getting clip suggestions on YouTube. I'm eventually just watching the whole movie. Yeah, pretty much. That happens a lot, actually. So good one, Godzilla.
Godzilla -1. Number 2 to you, Juice. What you got?
Here is my infinity pool. We waiting on this one?
Same. I got it at number 2 as well.
Okay, Randy, did you have this one at all?
Yeah, I had this down at 8. So
okay. So now we could talk about Infinity Pool. Yeah, David Cronenberg. I like David Cronenberg a lot.
Brandon.
No, Brandon. My bad.
Baby Bird.
Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon. Sorry. Brandon Cronenberg. I like Brandon Cronenberg. And this movie came out earlier this year. We did an episode on it with Rachel, and it was just really different, horrific, but playing with again some really interesting ideas of it's even kind of hard to talk about without getting into some deep spoilers. It's just, it presents a lot of ideas that I don't think a lot of people could maybe come up with or present in such an interesting way that this does. A good performances, and it's just wild shit that I've never seen anywhere else or thought about before in some ways. And he just has this way of making films that just kind of like burrow into my brain and kind of leave me fascinated the whole time I'm watching it, even though it's some bonkers shit that sometimes he's doing. Just fascinated by it. I love his cinematography, and I really like this film. It's weird, and I could understand like people being put off by it or thinking like it's too weird or whatever, but I don't know, I'm fascinated by him. I think he's he's one of those younger directors or up and coming directors that I just like can't wait to see what he does next. Every time, like anytime he makes a film, I'm gonna see it no matter what. And just to kind of expect to it to be of like a certain quality. So yeah, Infinity Pool, that was good.
Yeah,
nice.
It's at my number 2 spot as well. And yeah, this movie's just extremely thought-provoking. You've got these extremely wealthy folks that go to this third world country to take this very lavish vacation when they're surrounded by people who can barely afford to buy any food. Meanwhile, they can afford basically anything they want, so they value nothing. And it shows up in really dark, fucked up, hedonistic kind of ways in this movie. It's just like really well thought out. The acting is phenomenal. Mia Goth riding on the hood of that car, eating chicken and drinking fucking champagne is like one of the greatest moments of any movie this year, I think. Mia Goth is just killing it, man, in everything she's in. Also, the mask designs are so fucking terrifying in this movie. It's just really, really good and interesting, and it's one that you can rewatch and I think probably pull more out of each time you watch it. So yeah, it's great. Number 2 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I put this at my number 8, but I can tell you without any doubt that this was slotted in as high as number 3 from various points. It just moved and like bolted up and down the list like crazy because it's so fucking like well put together, and like all the things you guys said are true. I just think maybe it's a little like overlong, and I think that was, I don't know. I'm trying to like parse now why it wasn't higher for me, because I agree with everything you guys said, and I feel like maybe it was that. Maybe it's a little bit of confusion in the conceit, just a little bit. But I think, man, it's a damn good movie. It's well worth your time. I think it's a rewatchable movie, like you said, Bob. Although I have not rewatched it, and I feel like it's one of those that will certainly like I'll gain a greater appreciation with another watch, because when you don't see that shit coming, it's really hard to put the pieces together of what this film is communicating. And so maybe that's another thing that was tough for me. But yeah, it's a great movie, well worth everybody's time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that takes us to our number 1 spot, right? We're all at our number 1.
We're all in alignment on this, I think.
Yeah, nobody's mentioned this.
Yeah, we must. Yeah, we must.
I don't think there's any chance that nobody brought this movie up already.
I don't. Yeah, I think we all have the same number 1.
So we do say it at the same time. Count of 3. Ready? Right.
Count of 3.
2, 3. Talk to me.
Hey. Wow, has that ever happened before?
I don't think so.
Wow. Okay, yeah. That's cool.
Wow. Yeah.
That this movie, like to your point earlier, Juice, the reason this movie is my number 1, well, not the reason, but a big reason is because I wanted true horror right at the top.
Yeah.
And Godzilla was fighting for that spot hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking A. This movie came out of fucking nowhere.
Came out of YouTube, man. Fucking YouTubers.
Yeah, another YouTube,
Two Australian.
I'm telling you, man.
Australian folks, the Philippou
it's
brothers.
It's the breeding ground.
I know. If you were to show me this movie and I didn't know any context about it, I would never in my wildest dreams be like, a YouTuber made this. Like it's made with such confidence and like with such vision and direction, and it looks amazing, man.
That is how we watched it. What do you mean? We watched this at the Overlook Film Festival. It was the surprise viewing. It was the secret screener, and we didn't know what it was until we sat down. And they might have mentioned that they have a YouTube channel, but like everybody has a YouTube channel. So at least for my money, I didn't take it as like, oh, Logan Paul made a movie and it's good. No, I didn't.
My
have
point
that.
is, it doesn't look like YouTubers made it. That's my point.
Yeah, no.
It looks like
And
a
that is true.
seasoned director made this, not people that just made YouTube shorts. And also like another Australian banger. It's super dark. It's super thought-provoking in the way that it handles its themes of grief, and it's another possession movie with sort of an interesting take on possession, with the haunted hand that you grab, which is sort of an allegory for party drugs. And I don't know, what did you guys think? Did you like it?
Didn't like
it's
it.
number one.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, this is the one that I've seen so many people rally around, and I haven't I'm sure they exist, but I haven't really seen anyone who just, Skinamarink gets divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people think it's boring. For the most part, this has some general praise, even for the people who might not be so hot on it, generally seem to think positively about it. It's a very interesting and yet relatable type of horror where, we're talking about horror of putting yourself in the shoes. The idea of like these kids, playing this kind of party game and it having these consequences, like talking with the dead and not viewing it as that, just, the elements of peer pressure and like social media and everything like that, I thought was just handled very well. A lot of movies these days sometimes have like really good ideas, but they just get really heavy handed with some of the messaging that they're doing or like how they're presenting these things. This felt so effortless. It just felt like I was able to fall completely into this movie, relate to the characters, relate to the situation, and just be really intrigued by the rules that were set up and how everything worked. It was well put together, unique too, especially it didn't feel like it was necessarily like playing off of any ideas that I'd seen. I mean, like, yes and no, but I don't know. It felt fresh, but also familiar. I think it's just well put together in that way.
It really is. And like the thing about this movie is like they came up with a very, very simple and interesting conceit, by which to tell a story that is very both clear and effective. They are effectively communicate the story by using this conceit, and like it just plays perfectly together. It's, rarely do you get a movie that's like that simpatico between its, its surface level intentions and its under the hood intentions. This is very, very clear. I think you're right that it's not heavy handed. That can come across, and I'm usually pretty forgiving of that, but I don't see that here at all. And I think you're totally right to say that, like, I haven't heard anybody hate on this movie, at least not with any points at their back. Sometimes people might just say, oh, that sucks, and that's it. But like, I'm sure there's somebody out there with a good reason that they don't like this movie, but I really fucking like this movie. And the fact that it came out of a couple of YouTubers who are, better known for shorts and things like that is very fucking impressive and just adds to some of the mystique here. I don't know if they can reach this height again. It might be like, because this is so strong, it might be headed for a sophomore slump, but I hope not. I hope these guys can like repeat the success, because this shit is great. It's an iconic, like, there's iconic visuals, like the hand. That's something that you're going to see at people's fucking Halloween parties for the next 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see that all over the place. And they're already making sequels. I'm not excited about sequels to this movie personally. Maybe they'll do well, maybe they won't. But I just as a single fucking movie, as a freshman attempt, it doesn't get much better. It really doesn't.
Yeah. For my money, this
Awesome.
is the most successful straight ahead horror movie this year that I saw anyways. It's got that like sense of dread, but I think the thing that gets me most excited about it is it has this like real like vibrant energy to it. It's just got a youthful kind of vibe that I really, really appreciated. It feels like these dudes are super fucking excited about making movies, and it kind of comes across. It's also got a great soundtrack, by the way, which probably helped the vibe.
It does. Another thing that Randy pointed out that's really good to mention. I remember mentioning this last year. I feel like probably around the top spots I kind of mentioned this, but I feel like this is the movie that people will still be talking about for sure. And there's probably others that people will, but others. Like well, no, not just, I mean, in the list that we've mentioned, I'm just saying, like, I feel 100% confident that in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years, this is still going to have some relevance and conversation in people's minds, especially if you're a teenager now. And this is one of the movies that you saw this year, which probably was because it got a lot of buzz. This is going to be that classic for you. This is going to be that introduction to horror movie for you. And that I see it just cementing itself, you know, in people's minds in that way going into the future. So I feel like this one, like 100% for sure.
In the fucking performances too, the acting is fantastic in this movie.
It's great.
It really is. Good. That the young kid, the boy, that kid, man, give that kid any role, please. Keep giving that all these people, really, everybody in the movie deserves more work because it's fabulous. But that kid in particular, man, he took some turns.
Great movie.
Good shit. Yeah. Awesome. Do you guys want to run down our list real quick, just for people who might want to jot movies down?
Sure.
Randy, you want to run yours down real quick?
Sure. My list as it was written. Number 10, Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism. Number 9, Thanksgiving. Number 8, Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. Number 7, Infinity Pool. Number 6, Artifice Girl. Number would be 6, When Evil Lurks. Number 5, They Clone Tyrone. Number 4, Brooklyn 45. Number 3, Skinamarink. Number 2, Godzilla -1. And number 1, Talk to Me. Juice, how about you?
Number 10, Onyx the Fortuitous. Number 9, They Clone Tyrone. Number 8, In My Mother's Skin. Number 7, El Conde. Number 6, New Religion. Number 5, When Evil Lurks. Number 4, Brooklyn 45. Number 3, Godzilla -1. Number 2, Infinity Pool. And number 1, Talk to Me. Bob, run it down.
Yo. Number 10, We Might Hurt Each Other. Number 9, Evil Dead Rise. Number 8, When Evil Lurks. Number 7, Thanksgiving. Number 6, Renfield. Number 5, Onyx the Fortuitous. Number 4, Godzilla -1. Number 3, Brooklyn 45. Number 2, Infinity Pool. And number 1, Talk to Me.
Whoa. So you guys, your top 2s match too, even.
Yeah. And then we all had Godzilla pretty high too, right?
Yeah.
So
some clear standouts for the year for sure. Cool. So we talked about the best of 2023, and now it's time to air out some grievances, talk about some of the worst movies of 2023. Wow. So I think we're trying to pick 3, like a bottom 3. Randy, do you want to kick us off? What's one of the shit movies you saw this year?
Sure. Oh, I do have a bottom 3. I'll start with my third to top. That would be The Haunted Mansion. Now, this film...
We're just going to have to rotate out of the ones y'all don't mention. I think there's plenty.
There are plenty. Haunted Mansion to me is like the most aggressively dull thing that I've seen this year, I think. It is... I don't know. I have a little fondness for the Haunted Mansion. I have fondness for the Disney parks and things like that. I wouldn't classify myself as a Disney adult by any stretch, but I like those things. And, you know, I didn't have high hopes for this, but with the cast being what it is, and with them basically taking a second bite of the apple after kind of fucking the dog on the last one, I thought this might be a little bit better than theirs.
Leave that dog alone.
Oh, fuck that dog.
Fuck that dog. I don't know. I just was really like, I remember watching this movie, and this is one of the few times where I was really struggling in a theater to keep my eyes open. That's not good.
Dude,
I'm
I fell
pretty
asleep
good about
3 times in this movie. Alice had to keep waking me up.
It's understandable because it's just really very. It does nothing. It says nothing. I don't expect it to say a whole lot. It's a family film, so it kind of accomplishes what it needs to for a certain audience that's just not me. And really, you know, that's a shame because I feel like I have the interest to be an audience member for this and be there for it. It just doesn't really say anything. It doesn't do anything to my tastes, I guess, is ultimately the problem.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
Well, that's on my list too, so I'm just gonna pivot away. So I'll say Nun Deuce, and we're gonna see that this is a trend. Honestly, maybe I'll bring it up at my number one, I guess. Actually, honestly, this would probably be number one, but they're all bad. So, man, like this movie's just so fucking boring and not scary, and they just neuter this character. Feels so soulless. It feels just like egregious money grubbing. It's like for something that is at least supposed to have some semblance of art or, some artistic something going into it. This just feels like the most bullshit machine pressed out. I just felt so soulless to me. It was boring. It's just like fucking boring.
There's no stakes to it, and at the end, the big like nun battle sequence is the dumbest shit I've ever.
I can't believe they marveled that shit so hard. Like, it's just not with that fucking character, with that franchise. It's not what it needed. It's not what it's built for. It's nothing. It is pure and utter cash grab.
I feel like you almost can't even call it a horror movie. Like, it's just not even like moody at all. It's not. It's bad, man. It's bad.
Yeah,
it's a genre film. I guess you can call it that.
Yes, yeah. There is a ghost, I guess, or a demon, or a wolf. Wow. What even is it? Like, it can do literally anything. I don't know what it is anymore. Like, what is it?
It's Freddy Krueger like rules where it just changes every movie. They just MacGuffin it back into existence. And that would be fine if it was funny or had interesting things going on instead of action sequences like it has. Like, I'm not in for this one.
Yeah,
I agree.
Bob, what's your
number three?
I'm gonna go. I'll take The Exorcist Believer on this one.
I knew somebody would bring it up again. Okay. Boring.
Yeah. It's super, super like uninspired, and it definitely like you can feel that Blumhouse just came to Green and was like, you want to do this? We'll pay you a boatload of money. He's like, yeah, okay, sure. And I'm sure he like tried to make a movie as best as he could, but man, it just feels like so uninspired and so fucking neutered compared to the original. And there's just like no reason to make two more of these. Please don't. It's so fucking.
Is that set in stone still?
Yeah, I mean, I am sure that it is because they paid. I think it was $500 million just for the rights to make the movies. Not even for the movies.
Next one should be a slapstick comedy directed by Sam Raimi.
Yeah, just do something wackadoo.
Do more. Yeah, do Dead. What is that fucking Leslie Nielsen movie? Remake that instead.
Yeah, it's fucking, just it's not
Repossessed.
Scary. It feels. This is the way you don't do a possession movie. This is not interesting or different or original in any way. It's just the same retreaded stuff that just is not even remotely scary at all. And I'm sure it had a bigger budget than probably any other possession movie we saw this year. And this is arguably the worst, in my opinion. Anyways, it's very bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely is damn close.
What was that? Right.
My microphone must have come undone. Is that good?
Yeah, it sounded like you played a weird bump, or did something?
Yeah, it did.
Something.
That's your
play?
porn
really?
again,
No.
Randy.
Did your porn play?
No. My porn is safely
Randy's trying
stashed
to play
away.
it
Thank you.
So yeah, Randy, you want to pull another one?
Yeah, let's pull another one. Since we're on the topic of boring movies, I'm going to go with my bottom spot next because it's just another aggressively boring movie, The Boogeyman. Ah, my God.
Oh, Bob.
All that boogeyman bullshit.
Bullshit.
Boogeyman bullshit. I wanted this movie to be good because I like the lead actress in Yellow Jackets. Like, she's really, really great in that show. And Desmalchian is in this. Like, there's this movie feel like I wanted it feels like it had stood a good chance of being decent, despite the fact that it's another goddamn movie called The Boogeyman. But it does nothing new. It does nothing interesting. Like, there's no tension in it to me. I don't know. This is like what qualifies for the bottom for me usually. is kind of the dull stuff. I don't even have as many movies this year where I'm like pissed off about it. Like this is not a movie that I'm like
you should feel
angry
nothing
about. I just feel nothing from it, and that's the literal I would so much rather feel like the anxiety of Beau is Afraid than this. It's crazy how much more I'd rather feel anything than nothing out of this. So yeah, what about you guys? You feel that way about it?
Yeah, it's floating around there as well. Yeah, I mean, I had it technically higher, but I agree with that sentiment of it just kind of feels like a waste of time at the end of the day, just because I'm never going to think about it again. And it just, at least this one, I guess, to give it some props, doesn't feel like some kind of soulless money grab, because it's not really, like, I feel like there's some redeemable things about it, despite the fact that it is really boring. But when you tie boring into also the amount of money that's pumped into something, and also it's just like a soulless cash grab, that just drops it. I don't feel that way about The Boogeyman, but I do agree that it's very boring.
I'm a little easier on this than y'all. I don't love it by any means, and I wouldn't like go out of my way to like stick up for it or anything.
You're not going to fight for it in the forums, Bob?
Not in the trenches, dog. I got to get on Reddit now. It's all right. I think it's okay. It was mainly because it was PG-13. I think it was sort of geared towards a younger crowd, so it might not feel as boring or stale to some teenagers that watched it. So that's, I think it's got an audience. I don't think it's us. Is really the main reason I had to go easier. That's it, though.
Felt like a kind of Smile of this year where I'm just like, this is not really made for me, I guess.
But even Smile to me, like I liked the monster in Smile better than I liked the monster in this.
I don't think I did, but
a lot of people didn't, but I did.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tomato for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Juice, you want to pull another one?
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull another one. Whoa, this is gonna be a theme. We could talk about the trends, but Five Nights at Freddy's. This is not a game I was familiar with, so I could completely understand if to say like this is not made for me, or just like I'm not familiar with the source material, and that's fair enough. But I think the problem I had with this was at the beginning of it, even though I didn't think it was great, like I could see kind of who it was made for, who it was kind of catering to. I thought there was this kind of foundation of what I thought could be an interesting film, or like a decent gateway type of film, gateway horror type of film, something like that. But there's this like moment where there's this kind of turn, and I thought to myself, like, what? Like, this is really what they landed on to go this direction with this movie? For a moment, it stops kind of being dreadful. Like, there's this moment in the scene where they're like sitting and chilling with the killer robots. Like they're kicking back with them. And it's like,
Jesus,
it's like what the fuck? It just, I couldn't understand why they didn't just, it seems like a pretty straightforward stick to the, we saw Willy's Wonderland, stuff like that. And I wasn't crazy about that movie either, but like it's pretty easy to make a middling movie, I think. And this one just felt like another kind of cash grab, really trying to, cash in on the name. And it's got some kind of bad visuals. And
that whole franchise has been completely mined to the hilt because children are into it, which to your point means that it could have been a fabulous like gateway horror. And I guess it still kind of is. It just is not a good one. Like, I don't
think so.
I mean, I agree. I don't like it either, but people are watching the shit out of it. I think it is the most profitable horror movie of the year. I think it made like over $250 million or something.
That's so unfortunate.
Holy shit.
So much
God
money.
Damn. So Hollywood's definitely going to learn the wrong lessons from that shit.
That's the thing. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I put Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bob, what's your next one?
I'll grab another one here, and there's a bit of a theme, and that so far the theme of our bottom threes are pre-existing IP entirely, every single one.
Or just soulless money grab.
Yeah, Saw X. It would be my next one.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think they entirely misunderstand what makes the franchise interesting, and they try and insert this sort of morality to Jigsaw that really was not in any of the prior 9 movies, and it's just kind of head scratching that it's here now. They try and elevate this character that doesn't need it. I know a lot of people do quite enjoy this movie, so clearly somebody is resonating with what they did with this sort of swerve with this character. But watching this is supposed to be a direct sequel to the original. It takes place in between Saw 1 and Saw 2. And if you watch the original Saw and this back to back, it's not going to make any fucking sense at all. It's going to blow your fucking mind in half. It's insane. It's like they made this movie and they didn't watch any of the other ones. I think it's really fucking bad. I really think it's bad. And if you've listened to our review on it, you already know that. So there you go. Saw X.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And to be honest, this is the one time I really, really appreciate our camaraderie on this, because we seem to be alone in our principles. And honestly, in some way, it would have driven me like crazy. Almost like not quite. I wasn't as harsh, but kind of like a Halloween 2018 where I was kind of like looking around like, wait, what? Everybody loves this. But to an even worse degree, because I at least thought like, Halloween was okay, solid, but people love this movie and we all hate it and think it's complete garbage, and it's blowing my mind. I agree. Like, I think it's bottom of the barrel. I figured one of us would mention it. It was going to be my next mention if you didn't. So
the first 30 minutes in this movie are just to make you feel bad for Jigsaw. That's the first
crazy.
The majority of this movie is hero worship for a guy who maims and tortures people for tax fraud and shit.
It's crazy.
Fuck that. It was high on my list as well. I feel exactly the same, really. Ultimately, like to me, this is like what I said earlier. Like, oh, the Boogeyman and Haunted Mansion, like they're just so boring and like they're uninspired, and they could have done so much more. This is the movie more than any other this year that just pissed me off. Like, because it's capably selling a message, but that message is the most evil fuck you've ever met can be like somebody to aspire towards for no good reason. Like, there's no fucking reason given why anybody should follow this man, and you're supposed to like hate and loathe the people that follow him in the series for the up until a certain point anyway. And I don't know how we got to this point where it's like full on hero worship, and it's not like rooting for Freddy to kill dumb teenagers or anything like that. There is a pathos to this that they actively court. And we live in a society with a bunch of fucking school shooters and shit. So I just don't think it's very helpful to our goddamn society that this movie is being praised like it is. I
agree. I completely agree. It's really like troubling in a way that it makes me want to just like ignore it. But it's like, come to our house in a way. It's like, it's like if I could keep it in another separate thing, I would just ignore it and be like, oh, that's very unfortunate. But that it's presented in a horror movie that's one of the most successful, and we're going to cover horror movies and we're going to talk about the trends. It's like, damn, that's bums me out. Really,
it's a bummer. It's a bummer to see fucking John Robin Hood Kramer in this fucking movie. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
Dude. But we're going to get another one next year. Randy, we got one more, right?
This, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
I do have one more, yes. I would have pulled Saw X, but I'm going to instead pull one that like I have one key thing about it that I respect, and I wasn't going to completely put it on blast for that reason, but since Saw X has kind of took that spot, I'm going to talk about The Outwaters, which I don't believe either of you have seen.
I didn't catch
Bob,
it. Bob did, yeah.
I don't like it either, man.
Yeah, it's not good. And like, this is interesting because it falls into the same category. There's like a camaraderie between this film and Skinamarink and those directors or whatever. And, I want to feel the same way I did about Skinamarink about this movie, but the experience of watching this movie is so goddamn confounding, and not in a foreboding way, just in a, could you please give me anything to look at sort of way? And when they do, it's, man, there's like one shot that's like the shot of the movie. I watched a man get up and walk out like 15 minutes or 10 minutes till the end of the movie because of this one scene. And it's just like, that was an interesting scene. I like that, but I like that there are people, again, making these kind of movies and sort of like getting the chance to tell these unusual stories using experimental technique and all that sort of thing and get something of a wide release. But other than that, man, it's just insufferable to watch. I could never slog through this. And this is the guy who put Skinamarink at 3, remember? So like, fuck, like, I don't know how else to describe how trying it was to even sit down and watch this whole fucking thing.
I watched it in the theater, and I think it's the one theater experience I had this year where like about halfway through I was like, I can't wait to leave. I just I don't want to be here anymore.
Aww.
Not great.
I like feeling like we talked about this, and I'm going to talk about it later, but like anxiety, and like give me some anxiety in a movie. And this movie is trying for that, but it just doesn't get there.
Yeah.
It just it's confusing more than it is anxious. And that's not anxious. It's not anxiety inducing on its own. You have to give me something to be anxious about besides bad camera work.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are a couple like cool ideas and moments in this. So I didn't put this on my worst of list necessarily. And it is someone trying to do something original, low budget fare.
Yes.
And a lot of people did like this too. And I can understand that and appreciate that. And that's not as confounding as someone loving Saw X to me in any way. So,
I totally agree. It's not angering. And I mean no ill will to the creators of this thing. This is like, to me, just a bad first film to put out. Like it just happens to be riding a wave that's just starting of this kind of movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful for its place in that. And I'm grateful that there are people getting the opportunity to do this sort of thing. I just did not enjoy it one bit.
Yeah.
Like that's just the honest truth.
Same, man. Same. Juice, you want to grab another one?
Yeah, I mean, since we're doing 3, and to be completely fair, so I am kind of give a little aside here, but to be completely fair, I too would have picked. I'm kind of pivoting off these. I too would agree that the ones that I did, Haunted Mansion, and all these other ones, I agree with. So I'll be a little bit softer on this one, but I didn't really get to talk about this movie, so I'll kind of mention why I'm not so disappointed, but like why it's really low on my list. But I picked Knock at the Cabin, or I'm going to pick Knock at the Cabin, which was Shyamalan's. And I mean, talk about boring. I mean, I feel like Shyamalan's coasting, man. I really do. And even hearing y'all talk about it and the differences from the source material that he made, I don't think he made improvements. And I really just think he's coasting on something that maybe has some kind of rich idea in it. And so he wants to insert himself. But he's not for me anymore. Again and again, I kind of hound on him, but he really is just, I don't know. I think he's making boring movies. I think he's making movies like very sloppily. And I think he really, I don't know, is just kind of coasting off his previous success. And Knock at the Cabin was super boring for me. And it's definitely not as bad as the other ones I mentioned. Doesn't feel like that cash grab or whatever. But sometimes it just feels like he's not trying, man. And it's got actors in it that sometimes give good performances and I know have done even better performances and other things. And sometimes I just feel like Shyamalan's almost bringing the squad down. It just didn't resonate in any kind of way with me other than what was already existing within the property itself. So, yeah, I just thought he did kind of a bad job with that. So, Knock at the Cabin.
I mean, I think there's some. I'm not quite as low on that as you are, but I am pretty low on it. It's like number 29 on my list, so it's pretty low.
Yeah.
But like the thing that really like took that from being like a mediocre, uninteresting movie to being like one that's like, no, this is bad, was the change to the ending, like you mentioned. And I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen this and wants to. But the thing that the ending of this movie is just, it's a thud, man. It has no resonance for me. It's very, very, I don't know. It's like it's trying to be a crowd pleaser, but it does the opposite. It accomplishes the opposite. I am not pleased one bit.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say without getting too deep into the woods, but
Yeah, it's fine. It felt kind of uninspired, and the ending was fairly predictable. And in part, I think that's the fault of the trailer, which shows you basically the entire movie, which is a bummer. But I don't ever need to see it again. And like, I don't think it's offensively bad, but it's and I don't. It's.
Yeah, me too. That's the one that's kind of coasting because it's just like, but when we're talking, like, I put Boogeyman higher than Knock at the Cabin, to be fair. And I think they're both boring as shit.
Yeah.
Like, so,
I think this one was better. It just had, this to me just had better performances overall.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that carried me a little bit further.
Yeah. Bob,
but yeah,
wrap us up here.
I'll land the plane on the shit movies for the year with Children of the Corn remake.
Oh,
didn't see that one.
Don't watch it. It's not very good.
Don't watch it.
It's extremely like just boring as hell. There's
what?
There's just like nothing that really happens that's compelling in this, and like it's got a lot of child actors because Children of the Corn, obviously, and there's a lot of pretty rough performances from these kids in this movie. And it's just, it felt like a waste of goddamn time entirely. Like the movie didn't need to be remade anyways, and it's just really uninspired and something that you probably should not waste your time on. Like,
Well, of course, here come the demons.
So they're pre-existing IP almost entirely for that round. There you go. There's a trend.
Yeah. What were the outliers? There was Outwaters and Boogeyman, I guess.
Outliers?
No,
What do you
that's
mean?
Because Boogeyman
Outwaters,
was
like the movies that
weren't
were
based on
original.
Oh, they were not. Oh,
all of them were, except for Outwaters, because Boogeyman
I
is
think
based on a
so.
short. Knock at the Cabin is based on a book. The rest.
Oh,
were
I didn't know that was based on
sequels.
it's based on a short, but the short is based on
nothing.
just like cultural shit.
Sure.
So
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'd give it that one, but
Yeah. That's,
Anyway.
all the other ones were for sure. All right.
interesting.
We talked about the bullshit. Now let's get into some of our honorable mentions.
So plump, so right.
I've got a few here that you guys already mentioned on your list, but I know there's definitely going to be some more overlap here. And so we specifically wanted to keep television out of our main top 10, but our honorable mentions are going to definitely mention some like horror TV shows. So we'll kind of mix it up a little bit here in this segment. Randy, do you want to... I don't know, maybe we'll do like 3 or 4 each. We'll just see how many we get to, I guess. But
Sure.
you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I can kick us off. So I have a lot of
choose
things on my
shock
honorable
face.
mentions. I'm going to just do like a little list of like 4 things that we saw in festivals, in the festival circuit that has not made its way to wide release on streaming.
Well,
or
we're
anything
going to
like
talk about that for what's coming
Yeah,
next
we'll
year.
get there.
So don't do that.
Okay. All right. I won't do that then. Well, there's one thing that I'm not sure will get a wide release from that. 2 of them, actually. That last movie ever made. I don't know.
Okay, yeah,
if
I
that's
had
getting
that
picked up
too.
or not.
I don't know either. Yeah. Because
I hope so.
I was trying to look at anything I might possibly mention, and that was the one that I don't think is available from what I can see. Maybe check YouTube for renting, but other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a trailer on YouTube. There's mentions of it here and there on the web, but like I can't find any news of it coming to streaming or anything like that. And I really I liked this movie quite a lot. It was a bright star. I think it was the Chattanooga Film Festival. It was a bright star for me from that.
So,
And I definitely recommend it to people who work in creative fields or who are creative in their life in some way. People interested in creativity in general, because that's what it's ultimately about. And I don't know. I really hope that it gets the light of day, because it's an inspiring movie to me. I think it's would be pretty high on a more general list of favorite movies this year. So there's that, and then the other one that was probably not going to get a wide release is a short called "To Fire You Come at Last," which I talked about in our Overlook. I think it was Overlook. No, it might have been BFON. BFON, yeah. It was a short at BFON, which is just a great, like, very like colonial British, sort of like Sleepy Hollow-esque, Halloween-y, black and white short. I just really liked it, and I hope that it's available somewhere that you can watch it soon, if not already. I haven't looked in a while. Anyway, so I just want to bring up a couple things that I wasn't sure we'd get to talk about otherwise.
Nice. Juice, what about you?
So the first one I'm going to mention is a Korean film that we were able to see at BFON, but it is available. I did double check. And so first, it's called Her Hobby, and it's by a director named Ham Young-mi. And this one, so there's been a couple Korean films that have come out this year that are going to make my just like top overall, like I really enjoyed these films this year. And this is the one that's tied closest to horror. But the reason it kept it out of the top 10 is because it's not like quite horror, it's more like grounded horror. So it's based on a younger woman a Korean woman who's divorced from her husband. And she kind of, which is super taboo already in Korea. And she goes back to kind of live with her grandma out in the sticks in Korea and like takes on this kind of farming job. And she just has to deal with, at first, she just kind of has to deal with like general harassment from like the men in town or just kind of like after. But then she comes into some money, I'll say this, and she doesn't really and she's kind of scared because she's worried people are going to like try to take advantage of her or like try to take it from her. And like her ex-husband comes back along once he finds out she's got some money. So it's got some really ding dong. Whoa. It's got some really grounded horror, especially like from a female perspective, I think. But there's no monsters. There's no, lurking around or whatever. But this is this director's debut. And this is the one when BFON was done, I was like, I wish I had an opportunity to go to that director's Q&A because I follow her now on Instagram, and she's one of those directors who I'm really excited to see what she does next because I was really impressed by this film. And I thought it just told a really interesting, relatable type of story from a perspective that's just not given a lot of light. And it is available. She had a link where you can rent it on YouTube. So it is available to rent on YouTube. It's just the one I wanted to sing its praises, and it's very high on my list. And the only reason it got kept out of the top 10 was because it just didn't have that horror thread as much, but it's very, very high. It was very close. So yeah, Her Hobby, check that one out.
Dope.
Nice.
Yeah. Bob, what you got?
I'll start by talking about a movie called Sick of Myself. This is a foreign film. I cannot remember where it came from off the top of my head. But it's basically, it's kind of like a body horror movie. It definitely is commenting on like people's present day's need for validation via social media and things like that. It's about a girl who's very beautiful. She's trying to break into like the modeling space. She's trying to build a career out of modeling. She's having trouble doing so. She comes across an agency that specifically hires people who might not have like traditionally beautiful bodies. And she's on this medication that has a terrible side effect should you take way too much of it, that sort of like makes your flesh really kind of disfigured. So she intentionally orders a shitload of it and starts taking way too much so that she will look different, and then will then be picked up by this agency and get the validation that she's so hungry for.
Holy shit.
And it's really an uncomfortable kind of intense movie that does have like a little bit of comedy in it, but it sort of presents itself in this like holy fucking shit kind of way. Like you can't really believe that someone would go to these depths of this. It's like such a depraved thing to do to yourself. It's really, really good though, but it's one of those movies that like, I don't know if I need to watch it more than once kind of thing. But yeah, it's called Sick of Myself. I know Vinegar Syndrome put out a really nice Blu-ray copy of it, but you can rent it like on VOD anywhere. So it's pretty easy to find. Check out Sick of Myself. Randy,
nice.
You got another one?
That's not that one even on my radar. So
nice. Yeah, I hadn't even heard of that ever. I'm trying to decide. I think I'm going to start with one that I just think is kind of criminally underseen, rather than, just there are a few things that I really do want to mention otherwise, but this one, I want to make sure that people are aware that it's quite good. It's called Unseen. I forget where it's streaming, but I saw it on streaming, so it's out there. Maybe Hulu. And it's a movie set in Florida about a cashier, a gas station cashier at a very Florida themed gas station, gets a call from a woman who, I forget what the deal is. Oh no, she gets connected on the phone with this woman who is being chased by her now ex-boyfriend, and he has taken her glasses or knocked her glasses and broken them. She can't see where she's going, so she's basically her eyes for this person. That's the starting point for this movie. It kind of goes to some crazy places. It edges on horror comedy a lot of the time. There's definitely a lot of like Florida jokiness, like jokes at Florida's expense and things like that. Not as much as would make me a little defensive, so that's good. I like this movie quite a bit. I think that it's not like the world's greatest thing by any means. It's not something that would touch my top 10. It doesn't. But it is one that I think is worth people's watch. And I just haven't seen anybody talking about it or that know about it. I think it's worthy of a Sunday afternoon watch. And just, I don't know, just not enough people know about it is really the key crux of it. I think it ends on an interesting note. For those who are big Breaking Bad people, the person who works at the gas station is actually a gas station attendant in an episode of that, in a couple episodes of that. That is grilled by Hank Schrader at one point. So, and she's a great actor. She does a great job. I just think Missy Pyle is in it in a very bombastic role that I think is great. I think is really funny. It's a decent movie. I recommend.
Cool. Juice, you got another one?
I've talked about this several times throughout the year. I even got to cover it, but still, I think it's one of those kind of underseen ones. So I'll reiterate. But Baby Ruby was one that was fighting for a spot in the top 10. I got to cover this one with Caitlin over at Plug It Up, and it's got our boy Jon Snow in it. But it really it deals with this new mother who has a baby for the first time. And it deals with the kind of true horror of that, but in a more kind of horrific way. Like there's some like horror elements that like also play into that, but it's kind of playing off of the ideas of like your body transforms. So there's a lot of body horror in this, and then like some kind of like paranoia and like how it fucks with your mind, your lack of sleep, shit like that. But playing like, so taking those real life themes and then weaving them into a type of horror film. I just thought it was really well done, and it offers a perspective that was like really refreshing to me. I feel like some things have, danced around some of those things. You have stuff like Rosemary's Baby and stuff, but this was one of the first like real life things where I thought it touched on things that are just almost never discussed. There's one point where two mothers have this dialogue, like a mother-in-law, so she would be the grandma at this point, with the woman talking about how she got so tired and so frustrated and felt so alone and isolated that she like the thought of like, I wish my baby was dead popped into her mind. Like it deals with some things that I think are just good to see on like to hear the perspective of, but also ties them into a really interesting horror film. So yeah, Baby Ruby. I recommend people check that out. Bob, what you got for us? What else you recommend?
I'm going to recommend another sort of social media driven movie called Influencer.
Okay.
So,
I've heard of this one.
Yeah, this one's on Shudder, so it's real easy to find. It is about a social media influencer who's like this beautiful girl who goes to like all these really exotic places and just takes pictures of herself using various things that are given to her for free, whatever, just to help sell them and promote them or whatever. She's an influencer, you know what that is. And she makes a friend along the way. What? She makes a friend along the way, and the girl that she meets ends up stealing her identity and going on these very lavish trips. She's like very, very tech savvy, and you kind of start getting the notion that maybe she's done something similar like this before. And she gets into some trouble along the way, and some of the social media influencers, like family and friends, kind of maybe start figuring out what the deal is, and she just gets the situation gets worse and worse from there. There's some really tense moments in it. It does have the benefit of like these really gorgeous sets, and you're on these like islands with like crystal blue water, and it's a very beautiful, like the locations are just beautiful, and it's an interesting story with a lot of really tense moments, solid performances, and sometimes the stuff that hits Shudder can be a bit dodgy, but this is definitely one of my favorites of the Shudder originals for this year. So check out Influencer.
Nice.
Man, I
have seen that poster a lot. I just didn't. I kind of brushed it aside at I thought, because we got we got a decent amount of those last year even too. There was one similarly named, I thought, about the girl who's an influencer. She hooks up with this girl she knew in elementary school or something and like hit her in the face. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, that fucking, I can't remember the name of that.
Was that also named Influencer?
Oh, Sissy.
Oh no, yeah, it was called Sissy. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Well, there was the yoga one we watched this year too for the
That's
festival.
Mind Body Spirit, but that hasn't been released on streaming as far as I've seen.
I gotcha. Okay. Randy.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see. I think I'm gonna bring up. I think House of Usher is too obvious, man. It's a great fucking show.
Great. It's so
and
good.
I think
I just kind of had it. I didn't know if you're gonna bring it up.
It's a good fucking show. Yeah, like I don't want to harp on it too much because it's just good. I think if you've, I think most people are in agreement on this. I don't think I really need to make that stand for that movie.
Well, to be fair, we make assumptions. Like we see a shit ton of movies. Maybe there's people who haven't checked it out. So to be fair,
no, that's true.
One of the best.
Well,
I
wanted to set it as.
It's one of the best horrors this year that came out.
Yeah, it would have been pretty goddamn close to the top spot if it was considered on our movie list for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely true. But I wanted to kind of highlight Yellow Jackets because I feel like that's underseen. I finally got caught up on that this year. I had heard good things for many years. I've heard good things for a year or two. And that's a fucking fun show, man. That show is like, it's not as like heady necessarily as like your House of Ushers or anything like that, but it is bombastic as fuck. The performances are killer. The cast is incredible for this show. Unfortunately, it's only available through Showtime, so you got to have that extra subscription to see it. No. And that's the drag of it. But I watched like all of this. Beck and I watched all of this pretty quickly for us as a duo. And I'm just kind of chomping at the bit for more, so I'll be getting that service when they kick it back into gear. I don't know when that'll be because the strike, I think, threw those things out of whack, but we shall see. Hopefully there is another one. I'm praying that they're not trimming it because I have no fucking idea what state Showtime is in general. But it's a good show. Check it out. Now, for those who don't know, it's about a team of high school girls in the 90s who... a soccer team who have a plane crash. They land in the Canadian wilderness and are forced to fight for survival there. Things get fucked up, and throughout the series, you're seeing that stuff play out while flashing forward to modern day and seeing some of the survivors of that and how they're dealing with their lives and things that happen to them now and how they may or may not reconnect and shit like that. It's very, very good. It's a good. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's good. Check it out.
Cool.
Nice. Juice. What's another one?
I think this will probably be my last one because all the other ones are like kind of bigger. We've covered them in some capacity or something, but I'll say I brought it up, I think last week and what you've been watching or recently. It was that one Attachment, which I kind of just watched, kind of randomly a little bit. I think it was also on Shudder. And the big highlight for me that I mentioned was that it's Jewish horror, Jewish based horror, which is just not something that exists much at all. Not in any kind of deep quality, at least. Very small. There's some, but just not a lot. And I didn't even know that going into it. I just kind of threw it on. And yeah, it was very interesting. I mentioned before, it's a slower burn. So a lot of it is kind of like, it spends a lot of time developing these characters, but in a very rich way. There's kind of 3 to 4-ish main characters that play into this, and they all kind of have their perspective and their prerogative. And it's one of those things where they don't necessarily communicate with each other out of like past traumas or suspicious or something like that. But where like, if you're like, no, if you do, like, it would be better. But so it's got this like tense moments where you're kind of like going on this ride and you have pieces that other ones don't know, but then you're kind of in the dark about some things too. So yeah, it was pretty well crafted. I love the kind of folklore aspect of it too, of like what's going on, and there's some kind of like rituals going on, so you get to see these different aspects of it. And yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. I had no expectations going in, and then when I was done, I was like, wow, I quite enjoyed that one. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate that one. Attachment, thought it was good. Yeah,
nice. My last
Bob,
one.
you want to do another one?
Yeah, I'll jump in here with just one more. I wanted to mention a television show that we talked about a little bit on the Slack. I did a mini cast for this too. It's called Swarm.
Oh yeah.
This is on Amazon, and it was co-created by Donald Glover and someone else that I'm blanking on the name of. It's I want to say 6 or 8 episodes, and it's about this young woman living in Atlanta who is really, she loves this pop artist who's very clearly modeled after Beyonce, and she's somewhat obsessive and also a bit psychotic, and she ends up going to these Facebook groups and like Reddit threads, and she's finding people that are talking shit about her favorite pop artist, and she finds them. She finds out where they live, and she murders them. And
so it's a Bayhive thing.
Yes.
Taylor Swifty deal.
Yeah, for sure. And it's an interesting kind of like slasher take. It's rare to see like a woman slasher. She's a young black lady living in Atlanta who just like fucking kills people. And the show does some interesting stuff too that I really like, where it breaks format. So the vast majority of the episodes are very similar, but then you'll have like these one-off episodes that just are shot in a totally different way, or they've got some like news bits that are taken from like reality and stuck in there. And it's even got some interesting cameos. Like there's a Billie Eilish cameo in there, and she does a great job. Actually, it's just it's an interesting show. If you like horror slasher stuff, you want like something a little bit different, I'd really recommend checking it out. Also, the soundtrack is just banger after banger after banger. It's great. Donald Glover just can't miss, man. I think pretty much everything he touches is pretty solid.
Who does he think he is? Mike Flanagan?
Right? Yeah.
Dude, if he gets cast in a Flanagan production, dude, I am gonna shit.
If Flanagan made a rap album, I don't know if it'd be so good.
Fair enough.
I don't think he'd be quite as good at crossing those streams.
Yeah. So that was good. You got something else, Randeezy?
Oh, I thought that was my last bite of the apple here.
Oh yeah, go for it.
No,
so there is one other thing.
I
was going to mention Dream Scenario, but since I already talked about that earlier when Justin asked, I'm going to jump over to another film that I haven't heard whether or not it's getting wide distribution, but it won Best in Show in the Chattanooga Film Festival, and I wrote a write-up on it called American Meltdown. And again, kind of like horror is a stretch, but this is a fucking fascinating movie. I'm just going to read the back of the box, aka the IMDb log line here, or at least some of it. They call it a millennial coming of age story about a young woman who loses her job and struggles to pay rent until she befriends a pickpocket who convinces her that the only way to survive in America is by committing petty crimes. This movie's fun as fuck. It touches on some shit. It is clearly directed directly at our generation. So if you are of this age, if you are struggling through your middle ages, as we tend to be, then this is a movie that you should check out if and when it comes to streaming. I just want to sing its praises one more time before the end of the year. So we can move on now.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I didn't get to see that one.
Worth it.
Check it out when you can. Juice. So yeah, that's going to do it for our honorable mentions. But we did also want to take some time and talk about some trends that we noticed throughout the year of 2023 in horror. good and bad. I've got some jotted down. Did you guys like notice anything that you wanted to mention before I rattled off some things that I thought of?
I have like four different strands that I've noticed, and some of them I've touched on already. One of which, though, that I really feel like we need to talk about or needs to be noted is goddamn Australia. Yeah, Australia
sure.
is pulling out all the stops in the horror genre right now. Like this, they kind of owned horror this year. It doesn't just talk to me. I mean, like, I got a list.
Well, they got some that'll be dropping next year too, which are going to be bangers.
Dude, it's incredible what they're doing over there.
Yeah.
They had Evil Dead Rise, even, which was a huge release this year. They talked to me. There's one that we're going to talk about shortly that I have listed here as a looking forward to. You'll Never Find Me, which I don't know if that ever came out.
That's coming for next year too.
Okay, so
I guess next year.
It's going to hit Shudder early next year
in February, I think.
Godless was an Aussie film.
There's just Australian.
When we were in at the Overlook, it seemed like every movie that people were buzzing about, they're like, and it was filmed in Australia. Like, it just really owned that event in particular. It seemed like in a lot of ways. So I hope they keep it coming. Like, Babadook is like sort of the Aussie movie I went to when I thought about Aussie horror, and it seems
The
like
Loved Ones is always one I remember.
Yeah,
and then.
But like the one that's always sort of the king of Aussie horror to me has been Babadook for years. And now Talk to Me came out, and that has a direct line to that movie. I'm excited to see what's going on over there. I hope that they just keep it up, basically.
Me too, yeah.
Also, Run Rabbit Run, which was a Netflix movie, was
which I didn't love.
Australian. I did not get to watch that. And the one that you don't want to mention, I just might as well. Late Night with the Devil, Australian, comes out next year.
Oh my lord.
Good.
That's going to be a banger for everyone.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I agree, man. I had that jotted down too. Australia's popping off, man. Good stuff. Juice, did you have something?
Like trend wise?
Yeah.
Well, like I guess. We mentioned it before, but the surprise one for me that I didn't actually have jotted down was like all this World War II stuff going on, which
I didn't.
It was, weird for me to kind of realize that, midway through our list. But just, we said Godzilla, Brooklyn 45, maybe El Conde has some ties to there. There was another one I've already forgotten. And and maybe even to just like a retro vibe, because some that we know are coming out next year. We'll kind of touch on that too. But I don't know, these period pieces. And I've said it before, I would welcome, having, I think maybe too, because we talk about budgets and we'll talk about it in another aspect as well. But we talk about horror budgets and maybe being like super limited or maybe not willing to take a chance on period pieces and stuff like that. And I understand that can be a miss, but I'm hoping things like, last year Prey came out. And I know they're doing a sequel to that's going to be like another period piece. I can't remember what it was, though. Like French Revolution.
Oh, I think it is World War II, isn't it?
Is it maybe World War II?
I think it might be.
Yeah, an Apache or Navajo code talker, I think, is going to be tied into that. So I guess it would be World War II, or is that World War I? I don't know, but so anyways, I just hope like horror gets an opportunity. I know maybe you need a little bit more money, but I mean, even Godzilla Minus One was made with 15 million. So you don't have to. But one thing I really liked about Godzilla Minus One was seeing Japan during that time of just like not in the way that they're typically presented as maybe this enemy from an American standpoint or something, but just like the everyday people, the houses, how they're living, how Tokyo's coming up, but also as just this setting for a horror movie. I think that's really fascinating. I think it gives way to some beautiful aesthetics. And so, that was kind of a cool one that popped up, and I hope more kind of period pieces pop up along the way.
I totally agree. And like the World War II thing is interesting. I feel like that's got to have something to do with just like social anxieties, because we always tend to go back to World War II stories when we're looking for stories where the bad guys are unambiguous or at least partially unambiguous.
Yeah, very clear.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that what's happening now is it's not that's what like Band of Brothers did, but this year we got things like Brooklyn 45 where that's called into question, and like I don't know, interesting shit for sure.
Yeah.
Bob, do you have another trend you wanted to point out?
Yeah, for sure. I've got some jotted down here. One I wanted to mention was like liminal horror, kind of started last year, I guess, but continuing through this year and definitely next year we got more coming. Skinamarink was the biggest one this year for sure. I did not actually see Enisman, but it looked like it had some similarities with that kind of thing.
You said it was like that, right? But Juice?
Well, liminal, not really. It's really just like minimalistic, I would say. It's just because it's not necessarily, it's actually a lot of it's out in the open. She's on an island. But it's more minimalist, I would just say. Like almost no dialogue. Long shots of just like one thing, and sometimes repeated. Okay, is that what you're talking? Okay.
So yeah, liminal. I don't know if
liminal. I think about
you
like
might be pointing at
and shit.
Yeah, I was thinking more. Yeah, like the back rooms or whatever. And that I think we're talking about the same thing, but it's not. I think from what I recognize that as is analog horror. Is what Skinamarink is, what Outwaters is, like those sort of things.
Yeah, I guess that is what I'm describing with calling it
analog.
Because I would say like Outwaters for sure. We're All Going to the World's Fair is kind of in the same vein.
Yeah.
And then the Backrooms movie that got greenlit for, I assume, is going to come out next year as well. So there's a bit of a trend that
it's really minimal movies. Yeah,
minimalistic. But like a lot of repetition, a lot of
grainy, like
there's
really
not a
grainy.
lot happening on screen most of the time.
Things that allow your imagination to do a lot of work, like to make it scarier, make it interesting, and like it sounds boring, and to the right person, it is boring.
Really like ambiguous.
People that are stuck in this transitional space is what I think of as like a liminal horror movie, and it seems to be very repetitive and slow moving, and
I think what we're talking about has a huge crossover, but is a little different. Liminal is like kind of specifically about what you just said.
This bit. Well, also in a kind of way, isolation too. Where there are these people that are stuck in a place or feel stuck or just like have to communicate through technology where there's nobody else around or something. Yeah.
It's I'm psyched about that trend so much. And like it like I already talked about with Skinamarink Without Waters. It's just like it feels like this wave is starting to build. Backrooms is coming. I'm hoping that it's not like dead already sort of thing, but I'm hoping also that because of the writer strike and the actor strike last year, that maybe some of these things got progressed further than they would have otherwise. And this is sort of like a replacement. And I guess only time will tell, and hopefully it's not like, according to YouTube, that trend is already dead. So fucking take that with whatever grain of salt you get.
Well, at the same time too, people would say things like found footage is dead, but we still get quality. Right. Maybe it won't be as saturated or as big a boom as we think it is, but I think it's going to be something that's going to crop up from time to time. We'll be like, whoa, that's a good representation of that or something. So yeah,
totally.
Yeah. You got another one?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got another one. I was going to point, and this is like tangential. This is kind of pretty related, but and I brought it up earlier. It's just like the sudden bursting of YouTube into film world. Like I said, Skinamarink, we talked about that already. Like Onyx and Onyx the Fortuitous, Talk to Me, like all of our number one this year. And then like next year we've got that Chris Stuckman has that movie coming out, Shelby Oaks, and like there's YouTube is like not just a breeding ground for creative people anymore. It's now a breeding ground for potential film properties, which for better and for worse, I'm sure. But like for the most part, traditionally that has been a losing gambit. And just now, as of the past year or so, it started with like these smaller productions like Skinamarink, extremely small productions and things like that. But they're finally kind of opening that up. Some of the coffers are opening up to make this sort of thing, and that ties directly into like that liminal stuff and the analog horror stuff. That's all coalescing together. But I'm just interested because like I do spend a lot of time on YouTube. It's one of the things I watch the most probably, or have on the most anyway. And it's 99.99% nothing, nothing worth talking about. But that 0.01%, man, like I'm glad that like the cream is rising on that shit. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Totally. Yeah. More to come, I'm sure. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good shit. Did you have another trend you wanted to mention, Juice?
Well, I mean, I guess the negative one is, unfortunately, it's just like the big budget horror. We're like this kind of cross of everything that's getting money feels like so cheap, but also is finding a lot of success, I think, in the crowds that aren't typically maybe into horror, but also the crossover too. Your Five Nights at Freddy's, even to a point, Scream 6, which luckily the 7 is hit some road bumps. So
yeah,
fuck them maybe. But The Nun 2 making as much money and as much success. I mean, I was saying this, some hardcore horror fans this week, I saw some list popping up. Saw X #1, 5 out of 5's, blowing my mind, and made a lot of money and stuff. And I'm just like, man, that's the negative trend that is picking up some steam with the horror crowds and stuff. And it's a huge bummer to me. I feel like Bob said, Five Nights at Freddy's made a ton of money, and it's just a lot of these things feel very soulless, very cookie cutter, very paint by numbers. Feels like there's no love or artistic value in a lot of them, and some of them have some really fucked up messaging going on, like with Saw X, and I'm just like, man.
Yeah. I want to just like kind of piggyback on yours real quick.
Sure.
So this,
nope, it's mine.
It's all mine. You are piggyback. Some of the movies that you're touching on play into this. So this has been like, I would assume, James Wan's most profitable year of his career, period, because several franchises that he created had sequels. Also, he produced a really fantastic, a movie that was pretty good that did really well, and also he directed another movie. So you got Saw X, which obviously he directed the original, made over $100 million. Insidious: The Red Door, which is the 5th Insidious movie franchise he created, made $190 million. These are worldwide numbers, by the way. The Nun 2, also something that he created, made $268 million. He actually got a story credit and produced Mithrigan, made $180 million, and then he directed that Aquaman sequel, which comes out tomorrow, I think, as of the time we're recording this. So I don't know how much that made, but that dude is cheesed up this year, and he's also like kind of the source of some of the worst movies that came out this year too.
Kind of? Yeah. No, he is.
He is, yeah. Can't imagine that Aquaman movie is good.
I didn't see the first one, but it's true. Like, there's like, part of me feels like this has been the way it's been forever, like in horror circles, like the thing is, like, the people who are horror critics now are primarily and more of like amateur horror fans, and a lot most of them are like us. You know what I mean? People just kind of coming at it from their own love of the genre and things like that. And by and large, the horror community is pretty forgiving of and pretty devoted. So it's devoted to things. That's why we get so many sequels, and they still sell like hotcakes. That's why things like Saw X does really well. The concerning part is that it's not just doing well out of duty the way that like Halloween Ends did, despite it being a fucking dumpster fire, but it's doing well critically. Saw X is, and like, that's the concerning part. But it is, part of me feels like it's kind of been like this forever. It's just, I don't know. Critically has not been happening this way. Yeah. That's the thing where it feels like maybe it's just because people are hard up still for like the good shit. This year we talked about this throughout the year. It's like, it seemed really light. We've managed to fill it out. By the end. There's
some good gems. Yeah. Totally. But overall, I don't think I mentioned this and it's like, I don't think I gave any movie, even like outside horror, a 5. I don't think I did.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think I did, but I don't remember what ones it was.
Yeah.
But
Godzilla minus one is I think the only 5-star I gave. To
I think me too. And like Talk to Me beats that like in
maybe
my top 10, both of our top 10.
I don't know. Yeah.
But like I think I gave it a 4.5 because it was like I want to see how I feel about it in a year, and I think I'm close enough to know that it's a great fucking movie. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I put like money is always going to be channeled, especially right now, especially in Hollywood right now, to the surest bet. And there's only a few exceptions to that, and the best movies that we saw this year, by and large, mostly are coming from companies that are willing to step outside a line a little bit, and that may speak to our place as the kind of horror fans we are. But the broader trend of like Insidious Red Door doing great despite being very mediocre, in my opinion, is just the way it's always been. It's going to do well. It has the things you recognize in it.
Yeah, for sure. Randy, did you have another one that you wanted to mention?
You know, the last one is the one I mentioned earlier, and it's more or less covered at this point, which is the presence of anxiety films, like films that are the horror is coming out of an anxious place. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and I'm like, you know, the thing that I think I'm a pretty hard. It's pretty difficult for me to feel afraid, feel scared in a film.
Yeah,
and I think that the surest bet to me feeling afraid, feeling like horror at a horror movie, besides the conceptual, like actually feeling like, oh my God, like my heart race or any of that shit, is through anxiety. Because that's something that I recognize. It's something I deal with every fucking day. And like, I can say like, oh, this isn't real or whatever. But if it immerses me and it's anxiety inducing, that opens the door for me to actually be afraid of a horror movie. And so I'm excited that there's like Skinamarink did that for me. Infinity Pool did that for me. Beau is Afraid did that for me. I'm looking forward to Civil War, the new Alex Garland film for that reason. Cause I don't know. And it's not like that's a new thing. It's like the sensation of being anxious and using that, like that's Hitchcocky and that goes way back, but I'm glad that there's a lot of tentpole movies in this year that really kind of used that leverage on me and used it to great effect, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right on.
There was one more. I want to see if maybe you guys could help fill this out a little bit, just because it just popped in my mind where it's carrying over from last year. So trends not necessarily set for this year, but I can see kind of continuing on a little bit. And so we already harped on like the sequels and those kind of things, but there are also some pieces of horror that seem like pretty original, but also to me seem like very, very, very recycled, almost like a type of fashion coming back. Like we've been joking, like the big baggy pants are coming back, and it's like slightly different a little bit in their own way. They're not the Jinkos you knew and loved. They're kind of slightly different, but so one thing that pops out, we mentioned Smile earlier, which I would say would be the one that came from last year, where it came out and I was like, oh, this is very much like something like It Follows, something like that. Where like Mithrigan this year got a lot of praise too, where I was just like, yeah, it's original and I'm glad that we're getting some original horror movies, but almost every beat or thing about it other than the dance, which kind of like turns it into this meme, felt very recycled, felt like I had seen it a lot, and was very surprised then that it got a lot of praise, because I was like, man, this just feels like this kind of conglomerate of a bunch of other older kind of movies. So I don't know, I kind of want to throw that out there, see if anything else came to y'all's mind with that.
I think that the success of Megan is largely from a younger generation, that probably didn't see Child's Play or whatever else is. I don't know. My only guess, but
well, I mean, for Megan in particular, I think that it is like doing the inhabited doll thing, sort of just in a technological way. But what it's doing that's attractive to people is that, like, she's doing the dance.
good for
and she's
TikTok.
making a meme, and she's good. It's like she's doing TikTok dances. She's singing Titanium or whatever that fucking song is. She's like it's like very hip in many ways, and and like visually it's an iconic look. I think that she's one of that Megan character, Mithrigan character, is definitely like one of the more iconic things that came out of horror this year. But like as far as what you're talking about, Juice, like in general, like I just think that's the way movies are. Like I don't think that's new. I think that like because this goes back to the everything is a remix shit that documentary I talked about many times, where it's just like you're finding like components, putting them together, and trying to create something new out of them. Now, sometimes what you make isn't as different as you would like it to be, or So like Megan seems a little too close for me, also to stuff that I have seen a few times, but it does have new components in there. It's just that it's not as
it doesn't resonate with
groundbreaking at the end, and those components aren't specifically resonating with me necessarily. So I don't think it's necessarily a new thing. I just think it's I think it's like just kind of the nature of creation,
or just crash
like
the old
a truly original thought that comes out of the ether and nowhere. It doesn't exist. That's not a thing that's ever happened.
Yeah,
you come with ideas based on things you've seen, experienced, or realized from the things you've seen and experienced. So
I have a couple other trends that I wanted to mention that do kind of play into your point, Justin.
Okay.
So there's been a ton of slashers that came out.
Whoa, using my
year.
Christian name over there.
I'm so sorry. Juice. Stain. The Stain boy.
Grow up!
There's been really just an insane amount of slashers that came out this year, and a lot of them do take familiar plot tropes and ideas from other slasher movies, but also from just like other movies and try and blend them in with slashers. And they're trying to do this weird sort of genre mashup. So, I mean, we had Thanksgiving, Scream 6, Sick, It's a Wonderful Knife specifically does that genre blend. Totally Killer also does that genre blend. The Conference, We Might Hurt Each Other. Winnie the Pooh is this other like kind of weird trend that's emerging where we take these like very childlike safe properties and just turn them into slashers. The Jester, there's so many slashers that came out this year, and that's just sort of a trend.
Terrifier came back.
Yeah, they showed Terrifier again in the theater. Maybe both of them, and I think it made a shitload of money again. So, that's a trend that's not going away and does like slightly evolve with each passing year, but it's always at its core kind of the same thing. And also, Universal Monsters seem to be like kind of coming back in a pretty big way. Because we had Renfield this year, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Neither one of those did very well, by the way. But also, and we'll talk more, this isn't necessarily Universal Monster. Nosferatu's coming out next year. We also had a shitload of Frankenstein movies this year. We had The Angry Black Girl and the Monster. We had Poor Things that just came out. Birth, Rebirth. We already got a trailer next year for Lisa Frankenstein. Also, Del Toro is currently working on his Frankenstein movie for Netflix, I think.
That's the only one that matters.
I mean, that is going to be the one, right? Yeah.
I've heard good things about Poor Things, though.
I have too. I want to see it. I haven't yet. Apparently, Maggie Gyllenhaal is also going to be developing a Bride of Frankenstein movie. She's directing it. And we're getting that Wolfman movie. They recast who's playing the Wolfman, and I can't remember who it is now. It was going to be...
It was a good casting from what I remember.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
But I don't know if it's the new one or the old one, so I don't know.
It was going to be fucking what's his name from Drive. It was going to be him, but no, it's not.
Oh, Gosling?
Gosling,
yeah. Ryan Gosling, really? Oh,
but now
okay, that's not the one I was thinking of. Then
he's a producer on it now. He's not going to be in it. And also, Larry Fessenden just did a werewolf movie that's coming out next year called Blackout. So there's like definitely a trend of Universal Monsters coming back.
That's cool.
There's a reason. Well, I mean, there is a trend that goes beyond this, but I also think Universal itself is pushing that stuff, in part at least, or by making. They have this new theme park they're opening up in Orlando that's going to have a dedicated Universal Monsters land to it.
Oh yeah.
Like I think like I know that they're just like pulling from the properties they have, but they always try and support the properties that they put out there. There's a reason that like, that they did the Harry Potter world so much, and they're doing How to Train Your Dragon world there too. And that's a big property for them that I think that they're putting money into it and they're licensing more and they're kind of gearing up that franchise because it is one of the longest standing and most productive. I keep saying franchise, but like, I don't know, labels. I don't know what you want to call that shit that they have intellectual property stables. Let's call it.
A huge bank of well-known characters and
like iconic characters that literally are in American and universally among culture in the Western world.
It's universal.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's a trend that I'm largely stoked about, honestly. So hopefully some of those movies will be good. We know Del Toro's Frankenstein is going to slap for sure.
And Nosferatu, which I guess again is not, but still.
Christopher Abbott replaces Ryan Gosling.
What's he been in? I would need to know what he was in to know.
That's what I'm looking for.
I can't remember. I know I recognize his face, but I can't tell you off the dome what else he was in.
Possessor.
Fucking Possessor. Solid.
Girls, It Comes at Night.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember. I'm his face. I remember him from Possessor. That's just the movie out of those that I remember the best.
Well,
anyway,
those are all the trends that I had. Did you guys have anything else you want to throw out before we move on?
Not made of trends, Bob.
All right. Well, let's keep rolling.
We covered a lot.
That was a lot. Yeah.
We covered a lot.
That was a lot. Cool. Well, I wanted to just kind of briefly wrap up everything that we did this year. I can kind of run down the list, and you guys can chime in as we're rolling. So we did a lot of stuff this year. We did a whole lot of shit. We put out 52 regular episodes per usual, one show a week. We put out 5 bonus episodes on the main feed, which there were some interviews and stuff, and also some festival wrap-ups. Thank you, Randy. Put out 31 mini casts, and all that is exclusive to Patreon, so consider this a Patreon plug. There's well over 100 mini casts on Patreon now, so if you join, you get immediate access to all of that shit. It's a lot. And we got some Q&As on there that you're not going to hear anywhere else.
A delight to the senses, isn't it, my friend?
It is. Mikey and I over at Let's Get Physical Media put out 13 shows this year, and also 4 commentaries, which have been a lot of fun. Something a little different we've been doing. So all the podcasts that we created within our own little straight chilling family came out to a total of 105 shows this year, which is
damn, dude.
Insane.
That's what happens when you're not spending all year working on a documentary.
Who would do such a thing?
Also, the new thing too this year, which I think we have the numbers on, is the articles that we did on the website.
We did a lot of art.
Yeah,
we covered a lot of our festival viewings on the website for starters.
Yeah.
That was the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
I was like, I've still got one in the can waiting for something we're going to talk about in a second.
It's
been sitting there for months.
Something we hadn't done much before, but we did about 25 write-ups. That's it's over on our website, straightchilling.com. Some of them are festival wrap-ups. Some of them are just specific movie reviews of a lot of stuff that we talked about tonight, and also stuff we didn't talk about tonight. So check that out too.
Also, Bob, so all of our stuff that, Let's Get Physical Media, YouTube stuff, interviews, that all added up to 105. But also we did like a decent, as we typically do, a number of features. Do we have the exact number of features? Do we know?
Yeah. So I'm counting it as 15 guest spots, but that one show you just did on Arctic Monkeys got split into
two.
So I guess you call it
so 16 separate shows that you could listen to that we featured on. Yeah.
This year.
Prepare your brain for razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle. We also hosted.
We be talking, boys.
We do be talking.
That is the majority of what we be doing.
We be talking. We also hosted our 3rd annual Chilloween party for all of our patrons. Played horror trivia. Everybody dressed up in really dope costumes. We did sort of a live commentary this year while we all watched Halloween 3 together, and we made a drinking game for it too, which was extremely fucking fun. Had a really good time doing that,
dude. That was fun as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Juice,
don't you have FOMO, dear listener?
Sign up for Patreon now. Juice, you hosted a couple things over in Korea too.
Yeah, so I got to do the first ever Summer Chills event, which is a popular thing in Korea. Just to like, they tend to release horror movies more in the summer, and so we did some screenings over at the DCC Cafe in Seoul, paired up with the Dark Side of Seoul on that, and we got to watch Whispering Corridors, which is a classic Korean film, and we also did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So shouts out to everyone who came out to that. It was a lot of fun. It's always nice just finding more and more people to talk horror with, just John about movies with. So we did that in the summertime, and then we got to follow that up with the horror trivia and like the horror gaming day that we had again at DCC for Halloween, which was again a lot of fun, and came down to the wire on the trivia, and yeah, it was a lot of people participating, and so good days in Korea on top of the interviews I got to do at BFON and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a good year for Korea participation.
Hell yeah.
Participating in Korea.
Yeah.
We participated in Korea this year.
You
We
did. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did it.
Mhm.
We did it.
Yeah.
안녕하세요.
There you go.
Impressive. I also was fortunate enough to host a Night of the Demons Q&A at a convention down in Orlando this September. The director was there, as well as like 8 of the cast, which is almost the entire cast. It was pretty cool, man. I never had a chance to do anything quite like that before, and there was
Big old doinks.
there was some like pretty interesting answers that came from the questions. Unfortunately, like I recorded the whole thing, the audio is just unusable. I tried to clean it up too, and there's like people weren't passing microphones or they weren't talking into microphones, so like I recorded maybe half of the words that were said. It's just not
that
usable.
Damn,
But
man.
the folks that were there in person seemed to really enjoy it, and it was a lot of fun to do. So that was pretty cool, man. Something different this year.
That's not something we really talked about at all this year, which is fair enough. But we also we were judges for
Yeah.
a film festival that we all just kind of did behind the scenes while we were also covering other film. Like we
Dude,
were judges.
We did 4 festivals in a span of like a month and a half,
Yeah.
and one of which we were judging everything that came through.
Yeah, we were just like, we gotta watch all of these.
Yeah,
We watched in the summertime. Like I was watching like sometimes like 4 movies a day.
That's nuts. I don't know how we squeezed it all in, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And
And this year, the festival circuit's not ending.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's going to be
tickets are already in the works for some of this stuff.
yeah, that's something we're definitely going to continue doing. So yeah, we covered BFON, Fantasia, Chattanooga, Overlook Film Festival. And yeah, that's something we want to keep doing. It's been a lot of fun meeting new folks out there, seeing new movies, and yeah, it's always fun traveling and like just talking about movies with other nerds from other areas of the country, areas of the world too. Sometimes you get to play trivia with Mick Garris, and you know, it's just a good time. It's just a good time.
Yeah. Sometimes you get to sit down with all old boy, you know, in cheek and just
And eat a whole squid, squirm it in your mouth.
You shared one like Lady and the Tramp, though, is what I understand.
Of course, yeah, split it. But no, I mean that was I got to meet our boy now Franklin Rich and like learn more about you know, Jacksonville filmmaking and stuff like that, and just it's a great way to just meet.
I'm not
people.
jealous.
It's just a great way to meet other just film nerds. We all just want to just sit and talk about movies,
Yeah,
which is awesome. Yeah.
The majority of this podcast has been us just fucking around with each other and like occasionally like meeting new folks through their interest in us, and us actually taking an interest in going outside of our door and meeting other people has been very, very rewarding. So
It has been,
if you get a chance to keep track of where we're going to be this year, keep an eye open and, you know, come say hi to us. It's good fun to meet you folks. So
yeah, say what up, nerds.
Make me a celebrity, please.
Oh, yeah, that's what we want.
let's take this parasocial relationship to the 3D realm.
I got a few more things I want to mention. We did about 10 watch parties. Most of those were Joe Bob. We also did a watch party for the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, which was also a lot of fun. Hopefully they do.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Hopefully they do that again next year, and we can all watch it together. We also did a lot of YouTube shit. Of course, all of our 52 normal shows are up on YouTube with the behind the scenes videos. We also, Juice, you put out, I think, 8 episodes of Creature Comforts this year. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's Justin's spinoff show where he has guests on and they talk about horror adjacent stuff that's only on YouTube. Check that out. Also released 4 Tiki videos on YouTube this year, and I think you had about 6 or so other like video game related / like ranking episodes that we did that came out this year too. So a lot of shit on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. In short, we have done so fucking much this year. So fucking much.
Have you heard of our podcast?
Not yet, but you will.
Oh yeah. So that's I think everything that I had. Did I miss anything? Can you think of anything that I didn't touch on?
Nah, man. Nah.
I don't think so. But I will say, I mean, like talking about Creature Comforts, but also too, I mean, you know, we talked about features we are doing, but shouts outs to everyone who helped us. I mean, helped us with these things. We had guests on several shows. Every time I do a Creature Comforts is a different special guest coming on to take time out of their, life to talk with us and stuff. So, thank you to everyone who spends time to call into our show, to help us make the show, contribute to our show so that we can do these things.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all
Rachel,
so much.
we had
everyone.
Nicole, we had Caitlin, we had Vicky, aka Nightmare Raven, we had Matt, and Mikey, of course.
Mikey, yeah.
More Nicole, damn. More Caitlin. More Mikey.
Damn.
More Matt.
Damn,
Oh
we have more
Miles.
For Creature Comforts alone, shouts outs to Corey.
Yeah.
Matt did one with me. Seth did one with me. Jacqueline from A Cut Above did one with me. G Baby did one with me. Caitlin did 2 with me. I don't want to miss anybody. I think I got everyone, but yeah. So shouts outs to everyone who did one this year.
Man, we are very grateful, and we are taking forever.
Nicole, yeah.
Yeah. Also, a big thanks to everybody that supported us on Patreon over the course of this year. There were a lot of you guys, and everything you guys contribute truly helps us do everything that we just explained that we did. Like, without
it really helped this year. Yeah, really. I mean, it always has, but yeah, it really helped.
Yeah, we can't really overstate that enough. We really appreciate the fuck out of it. Seriously, thank you guys. And we try to create as much extra stuff for Patreon subscribers as we can, as much as we have the time to do.
It's all about
our boy
quantity,
Warren.
boys.
Shouts outs to Warren, man,
Warren,
who came on and did 4 bonus episodes with us talking about The Simpsons. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Warren's
the dude.
And wrote a damn good book too.
If you like The Simpsons, pick up his book and listen to his
Simpsons.
Yeah, and listen to his podcast. Simpsons is greater than. Everybody that grabbed a U pick this year. I jotted down the top 3 scores of the U picks this year. I wanted to give a quick shouts outs here.
Oh, okay.
Too.
Okay. Yeah.
So coming in at number 3 with The Mist, Brandon S. That got a 4.6 from us.
What was it? I'm sorry, I missed it.
The Mist.
The Mist. Okay.
With a 4.6. Coming in the number 2 spot, Alex K chose this movie. It is 7, and that got a 4.7 from us.
Whoa.
And clinching the number 1 spot, this is your boy Nate. Shouts outs to Nate. The movie is The Cabin in the Woods with a 4.9.
Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Some good ones, yeah.
Nice,
Man,
yeah.
Cabin in the Woods is definitively better than 7. I think we can all agree.
Yes.
Well.
Yes,
yeah.
we certainly can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's... Anything else? Anything else we need to mention, or anybody else we need to shout?
We're forgetting something, and we're just gonna have to live with it.
I know we are.
I know.
We have done so fucking much,
to not leave anyone out. Thank you for being on our show. If you were on our Creature Comforts or anything like that, Miles.
If you're listening
Miles
to this
was
right
just
now,
on.
Miles was just on.
Yeah.
There's truly we're putting out a lot of shit. We're doing a lot of shit, but it doesn't feel like a job by any means. It feels like fun, and that is largely because
feels like a fun job.
It is a fun job. Yes. And it's, that's largely because you guys are out there, rooting for us and doing stuff with us and all that shit. So thank you.
Yeah. Also, just a general thanks to everybody that hung out with us on Slack this year. The Slack community is strong as ever, and it's awesome chatting with you guys every day on there. So if you are a member of our Slack, thanks for hanging out with us. And if you'd like to join, just let us know, and I'll send you a link so you can join, be a part of the fun.
All right. Jesus Christ.
The end.
We're good.
All right,
I think we have all the thanks and all the fellation that we can give.
I think that's it. Let's cap this episode off with taking a quick look ahead at the year of 2024. There's quite a lot of movies that have been announced already, and a lot of them already have release dates. So I've got a list made up here, and I'll just go month to month, and you guys can jump in as I rattle them off if you feel so inclined. So January 5th, we got Night Swim dropping. January 12th.
Maybe.
I don't know about that. January 12th, Destroy All Neighbors hits Shudder. The 19th movie, it's a slasher called Founders Day that I don't know about. The 26th, Sometimes I Think About Dying and The Seeding both come out January 26th. We've seen those via festivals.
Oh, yeah. So... yeah, I had to take The Seeding out of my top 10. So I know possibly next year might be more stacked. Some of the big directors are going to be, Jordan Peele. We'll talk about it later. But Barnaby Clay, man, he made The Seeding. I mean, it still could be a top contender. And it's definitely one I look forward to rewatching again. It was fucking good. It's good.
Good, firm horror movie.
Yeah,
very
great
good
stuff.
I loved Sometimes I Think About Dying. It's like very light on the horror though, but it's
but it is. Yeah, it was a good movie. Yeah.
February 2nd, a movie called Imaginary. I'm not sure what that is. Also on February 2nd, a movie called Panico hits Shudder. I believe that is a documentary about fucking Argento, I believe. Blanking on his name. February 9th, Lisa Frankenstein, which looks pretty interesting. The trailer's out for that.
No, I haven't seen the trailer.
Is that
We've got a lot of Frankensteins.
Yeah.
We have. I'm wondering, I haven't seen the trailer for that myself, but is that a play on Lisa Frank?
Yeah, it is. For sure.
Okay. That makes it interesting to me.
This is written by Diablo Cody, and it's got a pretty bright color palette. It looks interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Juice, this one's for you. February 16th, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I know you're going to love that.
Man, people shall over that movie, but you know what? Honestly, I would rather watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey right now than the fucking Nun Deuce again. So
Me
you know
too.
what?
Me too.
Do your thing, cuz.
Moving into March 8th, Love Lies Bleeding drops. That's an A24 joint. Trailer just came out for that. Not sure how horror it's going to be, but it looks interesting. It looks
it does look interesting, yeah.
Like a thriller for sure. March 22nd, Late Night with the Devil.
Dude.
Fuck it. That's my number one most anticipated fucking movie. That movie wheedled its goddamn way into my brain after we watched it at Overlook so hard that I wrote one of the longest fucking things I've ever written just talking about the influences I noticed in that movie. And I've sat on it for fucking 6 months. More than that.
Wait, it's coming out in April?
No, it's March 22nd, apparently.
So
March? That's
almost a year after we saw it. I'll finally be able to release this shit.
So the thing about this movie, that's kind of a bummer in some ways, because the thing about this movie is this can easily be a Halloween staple movie. One that you crave or want to watch at Halloween.
I was genuinely convinced they were going to secret drop it during the Shudder Halloween events.
Yeah,
it seemed like it took a while for somebody to pick it up, and I'm not really sure why that is.
I think they just ran it through every festival they could, because they were still doing festivals as recently as October.
Well,
March 29th, Ghostbusters on Ice or whatever is coming out.
Ghostbusters on Ice. Love that.
Moving into April 5th, M. Night Shyamalan's got a new movie. They haven't announced the title yet. April 12th, Godzilla times Kong multiplied by Kong is coming out. April.
Man, there's a lot of mathematical
ups and downs
terms in Godzilla titles these days.
April 26th is that Civil War movie, which I am very interested in.
Me too, man.
I'm a little. I'm not as down.
It's a high risk, high reward topic.
Yeah, especially because I usually like if it hadn't maybe been for men, I would be a lot more
Dude, yeah, that was kind of
gung ho. But oof, I don't know. We'll see.
I think it seems like it's going to be a little more focused than men. At least just I think it would have to be, but I could be wrong. Who knows? But
yeah.
I only have one for May. May 17th is the first chapter of that new Strangers trilogy is dropping. And I think all 3 are coming out next year. I think they're all done. I
am not excited about that.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see about that. June 7th, The Watchers. I don't remember what that is. June 28th, a movie called Horoscope. And also on June 28th, A Quiet Place Day 1. I don't need to see any more Quiet Place movies, personally.
Yeah, that's fair.
agree with you.
Especially not a prequel. Like they set up a
conclusion.
Yeah, it's if you want to round it out. Yeah,
finish your
not a
trilogy before you go
prequel.
back.
Yeah. Nope.
I
No.
agree.
Come on, Jim, get your shit together.
Jim.
July 19th, a sequel to a classic, Twister. The movie is Twisters.
Speaking of, I was watching today with my parents. That's what. Anytime I come back to Florida, I know I'm gonna watch it at least Twitch because my parents love it, and I like it a lot. Yeah,
dude.
If
it doesn't have Hips Don't Lie Paxton, then I don't want to see it.
Dude, no, yeah, that's a kind of a bummer because Hips Don't Lie is gone and Seymour's gone.
Yeah, that's true. That is a bummer.
Yeah.
Oh, Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour
I was like,
Hoffman.
Butts, Randy.
My boy
I didn't
Seymour.
recognize him from his middle name somehow.
A classic Seymour.
Seymour Butts.
I was thinking, like, is Rick Moranis in that movie?
No. Moving on to August 2nd, a movie called Trap. August 9th, Speak No Evil. August 16th.
Fuck that, dude. What the fuck?
August
Speak No
16th,
evil.
Alien Romulus. I'm excited about that.
Dude, I will allow myself to get excited for that.
Fede Alvarez.
Wait, why?
Directed it.
Oh, it's Fede Alvarez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited because it's Fede Alvarez movie. Not because it's an alien movie.
Same.
Me too.
Same,
Yeah. Me too.
September 6th, Beetleman 2 is coming out, which I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Like nothing
I don't really want
in my life.
But you know what? I'm going to go in with the lowest of not expecting to hate it, but I'm just going to say this is probably going to be Duda Brown, and maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Maybe. Here's hoping.
I just see no pathway to that being a good movie.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to live with. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. September 27th, we got 2 movies coming out. There's an Untitled Monkey Paw production, which might be good. Jordan Peele's company.
Mm-hmm.
Also, September 27th, Saw 11, which I don't really care to see. Yeah. Moving into October 18th, Smile 2 comes out. October 25th, we got Wolfman coming out and also Terrifier 3 coming out.
You know what? If Terrifier 3 is a Christmas movie, I'll
check it out.
I'm curious. I'm curious.
I skipped 2 because I value my time in life, but
that's
Randy.
But when it comes to Christmas movies, I'm a very forgiving young man.
And me too.
November, I don't have anything. But December 25th, Christmas Day, Jordan Peele's new movie, which we don't know what it's called yet, is coming out. And so is Nosferatu.
Damn. If there's ever a guaranteed double feature.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Both of their fourth movies, by the way. They've been staying like neck and neck, and both of them fantastic directors in their own right. Like
those are both coming out Christmas Day.
Dude,
yes.
My ass is going.
Isn't that crazy?
My family's gonna miss me.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll see y'all in 6 hours.
Exactly.
No shit.
Later.
At best.
That's my present for the day. Damn, what a great day of the movies that would be. I hope. I mean, I assume it will be.
Yeah. There's just a handful of movies that don't have release dates yet. You'll never find me. I couldn't find an exact release date for that, but it's going to hit Shudder early next year, and you want to watch it for sure. Maxine's coming
that's
out.
another one I had to take out. Yeah.
I was going to say we didn't hear about Maxine yet.
Yeah,
so we don't have a date on that.
I don't have a release date for that, but I'm sure it's coming out next year. That Salem's Lot remake, I think, is coming out finally. And a movie called Long Legs, which is a slasher movie. And I believe Nick Cage plays the slasher in it. And I'm
Nick Cage is in it,
Excited about that.
and Micah Monroe is in it.
Dude, fuck yeah. I
And
wonder if
do you have?
it follows sequels coming out next year. They follow.
I don't know.
Or it follow,
Maybe.
whatever.
Yeah,
I
I
forgot
don't
about
know.
So
Well, I know
What
that
about
there's
Scream
also.
7?
that might not ever come out.
Here's the other thing.
But
The other
wasn't
thing
it
is that like a lot of these
supposed to?
movies,
I don't know. I think they were casting or something. Then I don't know. We'll see.
anything that we heard about before the writer strike is in
True,
question about
true.
its date.
Yeah.
You know, so and then
Oh,
I don't know if you saw this
I'd like
one,
to mention
Weapons?
another one.
Yeah.
Oh,
did you have
I would like to
a movie
mention-
called Weapon? I'm sorry.
go ahead with Weapons.
No, but I know what
Weapons
you're
is
talking about.
I don't know.
It's
what
by
that
the
is.
director of Barbarian, Zach Kreger, the whitest kid you know, and it stars Pedro Pascal as of right now. So that's the only other one that you hadn't mentioned that I wanted to bring up.
Sounds dope.
The big one that I would mention, which this is one I didn't think to look up before, but I was just waiting for it to get like a big release too, was Tiger Stripes. That would be one I would be anxious to look out for. It won maybe it won some big festivals this year, and it was Abby Fun, and I loved it, and it was still going. It was I know toward the end of the year it was still going through festivals, so I don't know when that might be coming out, but that one was a really good one to keep an eye out for as well.
Nice. Yeah.
We just have like a lot to look forward to, man. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even with the ones I've already seen that I know is coming out, like I know, hopefully we don't ever cover, but like Tiger Stripes has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Like I haven't heard anyone say a bad thing about it. So yeah, even just the ones, like I said, I had to take out 3 movies out of my top 10 from this that would be top 10 this year because they're not wide releases yet. So 30%. Like,
Yeah.
my top 10 I know is coming out next year.
0.3.
And I didn't even put Tiger Stripes in there. It probably would have gone there if it had been released. So, I mean,
0.3 out of 1.
Wow,
I know.
Randy, you're good at math
Whoa.
things.
Whoa.
You know,
So that's
I was Duval County Public Schools, you know.
yeah, killing it. That's a roughly 40 movies we already know is coming out next year, and you know there's going to be so many more.
and we're covering them all,
That's
baby.
a lot to look forward
And
to.
at least a handful of them we already know are bangers.
At least
and
3,
are
yeah.
good
So-
to go.
And I feel like there's at least 3 more that you could put money down that are gonna fucking slam.
Yeah, if somehow Robert Eggers' Nosferatu with fucking Willem Dafoe as the lead is not good, then what the fuck is happening?
Then
in the
that's-
world?
Yeah, then that's a
podcasting.
catastrophic fall.
Yeah,
I quit.
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and Jordan Peele, I mean, like, I just have to assume that's going to be good.
it
like,
at least won't suck, you know? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll be all right at least.
Maybe Alex Garland, you know, I mean, a lot of big directors are dropping some stuff. Tim Burton is making his comeback.
Tim Burton, big comeback for Tim.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
Ty West, maybe that GDT Frankenstein would come out. That'd be tight.
Oh, yeah, that Maxine's should be a banger. I mean,
I hope
assuming.
that and like this is not really in the horror realm, but like those other movies I mentioned, American Meltdown, last movie ever made, like there's some good shit
Yeah,
that's just
there's some really good
waiting
stuff.
to be distributed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got.
Franklin Rich's next film, I'm sure, is going to be amazing.
Whatever that is, watch
Artifice Woman.
He gave me the script the other night, and it was like blew my fucking nuts up.
He showed it to me, and I was like, no, let me change some things around. And now
And then I
he's got it
forgot about it because Bob gave me too many drinks. It's the most amazing thing I ever heard, and then I forgot about it.
Yeah,
I've heard that Tenacious D song.
right. Tell it to Tenacious D, Jack Black. Yeah, that's all I got for next year. Looking forward to next year. Anything else you guys want to add before we close this thing out?
Honestly, there probably is something, but yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
Probably something awesome. Well,
Mouth
yeah.
is dry.
Thanks for spending a whole another year with Straight Chillin'. I mean, we're in our 10th year now, which is insane.
Here we go.
Episode
Christ
500.
almighty.
We'll be here before you know it. Yeah, cheers. I hope you guys had a great year. You have a great New Year's, and here's to a happy and healthy 2024. If you want to find us, search us on social media. Straight Chilling Podcast will pop right up. And join our Slack channel. It's awesome. We chat about stuff every day, horror movies, but also, we trade recipes and pictures of our cute, adorable animals and talk about all kinds of fun shit. So join our community. And if you want to do that, just hit us up on social media and I'll send you a link so you can.
You want to see my ding dong?
Yeah, that's how you get them.
And there we go.
That's how you get them running to Slack. God in heaven. Well, until next year, as always, keep chilling.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.